that with this. What am I going to do?
No.
Welcome to tonight's April 22nd, 2024 pre-meeting. Do we have any questions on the agenda? Attorney Frankel and City Manager Freitag and I talked, and would you like to explain consent agenda?
So one request that I'd make on behalf of staff would be to take item A off of consent. This is the second reading of the occupancy limits ordinance, and I would just ask that staff be given that opportunity to modify this and bring forward a clean version that is consistent with the aspects of the new legislation that was adopted at the state level effective July 1st. Because right now we have occupancy limits in this draft that are driven by the building code, which are methods that are consistent with the new state legislation, but there's also a reference to familial relationships, which I want to ensure is in fact consistent with the state law. And I think right now the current draft has got some questions about that. So my ask would be removing that from consent and potentially entertaining a motion to postpone the second reading indefinitely with the expectation that staff brings forward a new ordinance for your consideration. That would happen ahead of the July 1st effective date in state law.
Everybody okay? Okay. And then we had a request from a counselor to remove items 8C1 and C2, so we'll do that. Any other questions for tonight's meeting?
No, sorry, no,
Counselor Ireland,
nothing for me.
Counselor Dumont,
Not for in here.
Pro Tem?
No.
Okay, then your reports. Counselor Zadi?
None.
Counselor Hunt?
I don't have one this week.
Counselor Camille?
Yes, I, with the volunteers of Westminster put together by the PRL, the cleanup that happened this weekend, I did that, and it was extremely successful. Lots of people came out, lots of garbage removed. We worked over by the Westminster station, and overall, I was honestly pretty disheartened by how much debris there was in the water. There was a lot. There was a lot of styrofoam. There was a lot of plastic. There's a lot of little bits that you couldn't really physically collect, so I ended up in there in that creek to my knees, trying to get out what we could. We had some possible support, just putting this out there, for maybe a Westminster Water Keepers, like a branch off from the EAB, just to have folks go. They wanted to go back this summer, maybe 2-3 times, and clean up again. It would require some small supplies like waders and like a net, but overall not too much. But there was a lot of support. People were excited to come back and do more work because we did what we could, but there's a lot there. And I believe that the Arts Week was pretty successful. I wasn't able to get down to the College Hill Library in time, but I heard feedback that it went really well.
Counselor Ireland?
I haven't had anything this week.
Counselor Dumont?
I was out of the country last week, so I didn't get to report on inclusivity last week, but I think I shared with you all during strat planning, because most of what they talked about was really what we were doing at strat planning, so I brought those ideas forward to you, but just so you know, that was pretty much the meeting in a whole, was that they were talking about the items that I brought up at strat planning.
Mayor Pro Tem?
I attended Dr. Cog last week, and let's see, we had a presentation by RTD, and they gave us an interesting overview of what their next few years are going to look like in terms of their being in the black, in terms of revenues covering their expenses, but when you look out into further years, they're definitely going to be impacted, and very significantly impacted if they continue to have to utilize Tabor if they're unable to extend their exemption, so it's a little worrying. Let's see, they did compare themselves to other transit agencies throughout the nation. They're kind of one of the younger ones, so a lot of the older ones, including like BART and SEPTA, they are really significantly strapped for cash and needing an infusion from their states. And so they did bring up Colorado does not provide money towards transit. We're 44th in the nation in terms of the state share of funds for transit. So perhaps we could do better. We did have an update as well on the Vision Zero plan for the region, and overall, again, I'll just remind everybody that they're trying to get to 0 deaths, and so that's something that we all should be aspiring to locally with our planning efforts. Then we went over bills in terms of what DRCOG wanted to support or not. In terms of 184 for the support surface transportation one, that is the combined utilization of the fast tracks, dollars going towards front range passenger rail. There was an overall vote to amend that by DRCOG. I represented our no. I think I was one of the only ones. Let's see. I'm trying to find things that are relatively interesting. And just a reminder that Bike to Work Day is upcoming. Westminster, as an organization, has been very active over the years, and so we've already signed up for it, so go Westy. And that's on June 26th. And what else? And then I also attended another front range passenger rail board workshop, more focused on the upcoming election timeframe and discussion around whether or not they take something forward for a tax. No finite decision as of yet for that. And then I spoke with community members and Jeffco Commissioner Tracy Capito over the RMMA. So again, trying to listen on all sides and try and better understand what our options are. So that's all.
I met with the accreditation team that came for our fire department 3 times last week, and met with a Boy Scout who was needing his last badge in order to get his Eagle Scout. And urban drainage was last week. We didn't have anything on it from Westminster, but they are busy. And we had the Colorado DAR groups here at the Weston Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. They asked me to come over and greet them. I did that last year. I reminded them to go to all their historical societies because they carry great history, and knowing their lineage to that person that allows them to be in the Daughters of the American Revolution. So showed up for the global cleanup, great crowd. They came and went, filled the room and ate, and then left and filled the room again. It was great. And then just remind folks, all week is the Art Week, so hopefully we'll have a little bit nicer weather.
Yes, Mayor. Mayor Pro Tem, Councilors, just one thing for the group. On the agenda item that's discussing the furniture purchase, just wanted to share with the council, this is phase 4 in a furniture purchase across the city that was started in 2018, and so we have one more iteration after this, phase 5. If anybody wants to see what new furniture looks like and what old furniture looks like, Assistant City Manager Chris Lindsay would be happy to take folks over to finance, because that's where a majority of this focus will occur. There's, to my knowledge, one desk in there is new, the rest are all old, and so you'd have something to compare We also sent some pictures out late in the afternoon. Counselor Demott had asked for pictures, so we've shared those. I don't know whether everybody's had a chance to look at those or not, but wanted to make sure that, just so you can see what we're talking about, there's the opportunity before the actual meeting to go over and check out Finance Department, okay? That's all I have, Mayor.
Any other questions? Do we have anything else we can do?
At this point, no.
All right, we will see everybody in about 15 minutes. And don't forget to do your green sheet for Abby. Where is the attachment? You can keep talking. We have 8 minutes. Welcome to tonight's meeting of April 22nd, 2024. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please. Oh, wait. Welcome to the Westminster City Council meeting of April 22nd, 2024. We thank you for coming and would like to remind all in attendance that our meetings are subject to the rules of decorum that are posted inside the chamber doors. These rules are in effect while our meetings are in session as well as during breaks, the transition between meetings. We want to be sure all feel welcome and remind all that there is an expectation that no attendee shall disrupt this meeting, that threats and intimidation are prohibited. No attendee shall engage in audible expressions of support or opposition for any speaker. Signs and placards are prohibited, and all attendees shall remain seated in the seats provided, not in the aisles, nor shall the doorways be blocked. Roll call, please.
Councillor Carmelia.
Present.
Councillor Demott.
Present.
Councillor Azadi.
Here.
Councillor Hott.
Present.
Mayor McNally.
Here.
Councillor Nurmela.
Here.
And Councillor Ireland.
Here.
That brings us to the minutes of April 8th. Councillor Demott.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve the minutes of the April 8th, 2024 meeting as presented.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of April 8th, 2024. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Tonight is one of our special nights where we get to thank the people that work here. For tonight, it will be 20 through 30 years. And I am happy to see family faces here. And please, when your name is called, bring anybody that's with you down. They can be friends, family, neighbors. We don't care. We just want anybody that you brought with you to celebrate to come on down. So first up is Councillor Demott.
Could I have Officer Adams and any of his guests join me up front?
Hi, my name is Dave Adams, obviously with the police department. My wife Lisa, daughter Kimberly, and daughter Jordan.
I'm going to hand you your plaque and your pin. You can hold those or hand them down to your guests. I will read this, but first I want to say that I personally know Officer Adams because I've been through our Citizen Academy multiple times. Not only that, but Officer Adams is one who signs up regularly to come and protect council and the people who attend council meetings. So we appreciate all that you do. And I know you're a good guy, so we appreciate your service. So with that, David Adams was hired as a senior police officer for the city March 2004. Prior to that, Dave began his career in 1999 as a police officer for the city of Sheridan, and then was a patrol deputy for Douglas County Sheriff's Department. While serving in the city, Dave was on the motor officer in the traffic unit for almost 17 years before returning to patrol duty in 2021. You miss your bike? During his time with the police department, Dave has standardized field sobriety instructor, field training instructor, and toxilizer, is that right? Instructor, and LiDAR radar instructor. In 2009, Dave received the Medal of Valor for his actions during a bank robbery and pursuit involving 2 suspects. When not working, Dave enjoys spending his time with his family, includes 2 sons, 2 daughters, 4 grandchildren, especially his wife Lisa of 32 years. Congratulations on that, that's great. Dave enjoys taking cruises with his family and attempts to learn how to play golf when time allows. That must be a Dave thing, because I suck at golf too. Yes, sir. So with that, we thank you for your service.
There wasn't enough room up here, but I also want to thank the fire department who came out to support me tonight as well. Thank you guys, I appreciate you.
You didn't, because everybody needs a hero?
Next up is Mayor Pro Tem Nurmela.
Mona. I had the pleasure of working with Mona forever, so. All right, hello. Mona Churi. I'm going to have you introduce your family.
It's my daughter Alyssa, my daughter Adriana, and my son Alec. And Ed is working tonight.
Well, thank you for bringing your whole, most of the family here, right? But so Mona Churi was hired in 2004 as a part-time secretary in the Economic Development Division of the Community Development Department. The part-time hours supported her work-life balance as Mona and her husband raised their young children. Through the years, as opportunities presented themselves, Mona had the opportunity to work on special projects, including working extra hours in the city attorney's office. This led Mona to take on a full-time position with the city. In 2016, Mona was appointed to the position of management analyst, which provided a great opportunity to work with a team focusing on the development of downtown Westminster. She is currently a senior management analyst in the Real Estate Development and Sustainability Division. Born and raised in the Westminster area, Mona has a passion for Westminster. She embraces the various facets of the city and feels incredibly fortunate to work on projects that contribute positively to the community. In her spare time, Mona enjoys spending time with her family. Mona and her husband Ed have been married for 33 years. Their youngest daughter, Adriana, works for Broomfield Housing Alliance. Their son, Alec, will be graduating in May from the University of Denver, Strum College of Law. Their oldest daughter, Alyssa, works for CU Denver Evaluation Center, and her husband, Anthony, that's wrong, works in the Parks, Rec, and Libraries Department, and they are expecting their first child in July, making this Mona and Ed's first grandchild.
Ooh.
Congratulations. Good catch. Mona's always catching stuff for me, you know. And there's your award.
You have another one.
All right, well, Lee Garou, I'm sorry, I killed it. Lee, help me. Garou, oh, okay. Because see, it came over there.
Oh, yeah.
Hard.
Yes, Jeru.
All right. Well, Lee, do you have anybody else? You want to just drag up all of your coworkers?
He's got a whole lineup over there.
No.
No, that's all my crew over there, station crew, truck 2, engine 2, Sam, officers, yeah, and battalion chief as well.
All right, Lee, so 20 years. Lee was hired with the first and apparently the best of the 2A firefighters in March 2004 and has been a pivotal member of the fire department family. Lee was a member of the technical rescue team for 15 years. He operated as a line public information officer for 10 years and has been a member of the peer support team for 6 years, helping our brother and sister firefighters through some of the most difficult parts of our job. After 14 years, when most firefighters have settled comfortably into their positions, Lee made the decision to attend paramedic school and has been working on some of the busiest medic units ever since. Lee has been married to his wife, Gina, for 22 years. They have 3 daughters, Izzy, 20 years old, Gabby, 19 years old, and Haley, 6 years old. Lee is a high-level softball coach, nice, and a stellar hockey player and enjoys working out and playing golf in his extra time. Lee just happens to be the most Canadian member of the Westminster Fire Department family. What is that?
And if the Avs win and lose another game, you're called up. Councillor Carmelia is next.
All right, I know I've got Mr. Chad Sig up first. Where is he? Come on up and bring any guests you have with you. Hello. Hi. Good evening. All right, welcome. And would you like to introduce your guests?
Sure. This is my wife Holly, my son Cameron, and my daughter Caitlin, and many members of my other family.
Welcome all, and thank you for being up here. All right, Chad Sig was hired as a firefighter 1 in March 2004. He is currently a fire engineer assigned to Fire Station 2, B Shift on Engine 2. During his 20 years with the department, Chad has received 2 life-saving awards, was an arson investigator for 5 years, and is currently a member of the department's fitness committee. He has been married to his wife, Holly, for 19 years, and together they have 15-year-old twins, Cameron and Caitlin. In his free time, Chad enjoys coaching high school baseball and playing golf. Chad is thankful to have a job that he enjoys doing and looks forward to many more memorable years with the Westminster Fire Department. Thank you so much. Down here. And next, we have Mr. Philip Dominguez. Come on up. Hello. How you doing tonight?
Good, how are you?
I'll shake your hand. Thanks for coming on up. All right. Mr. Dominguez started with the city in March 2004 as well as a firefighter 1, was promoted to firefighter 2 in September 2005, and then promoted to his current position in September 2019 as fire lieutenant at Fire Station 2 on Engine 2. During his career, he has received several honors and awards, which include several life-saving awards. He is the C shift on the Wildland team as the Wildland engine boss and is head of the Westy pre-plan program. In the past, Phil has served as a fire investigator and as a tech rescue team member. In addition, he is the most Australian member of the Westminster Fire Department. What does that mean?
It means I'm Australian.
Makes sense. Phil has been married for almost 23 years to his wife, Nicole, who is the most amazing and very patient person ever. Together, they have 2 daughters, Sydney, 18, and Maya, 16. Phil's hobbies include bicycle racing, snowboarding, rock and ice climbing, playing hockey, coaching hockey for Lewis Palmer High School hockey team, and coaching the Colorado Spring Tigers under 19 and under 15 women's hockey teams. Wow. He also enjoys spending time with his family in their yurt in the mountains and enjoys traveling whenever he can. Excellent. Thank you so much.
I'm not as good at catch.
Brian Hart.
Thank you so much.
Introduce us.
This is Lisa and Jake. Sorry, Lisa and Jake.
Thank you. Brian Hart was hired in 2004 as a firefighter EMT and ran 911 calls throughout the city and neighboring areas for 18 years. In 2007, he became part of the newly formed Wildland team and has fought forest fires throughout the United States for more than a decade. In 2012, Brian was assigned additional duties and became the the fire department's personnel protective equipment and uniform specialist. These additional duties included the purchasing and issuing of all uniform and personal protective gear for all the fire department employees, ensuring that NFPA standards were being met, and ensured that these purchases were in line with the fire department budget. In 2023, Brian was promoted to Fire Lieutenant Logistics Officer. Although Brian throws an enormous amount of his energy and time ensuring that the fire department looks professional and has the proper PPE and equipment to be able to accomplish their mission of life safety and property conservation, his true passion is spending as many lovely hours as possible with his son Jacob, who is 13, and his longtime girlfriend Lisa, enjoying all life's adventures, which include fly fishing, camping, and skiing. Congratulations. Come out. Yes. Brian Timmons. How are you tonight? Congratulations. You have a big smile. Tell us who's here.
Hi, I'm Brian, and this is my wife, Charity.
Welcome, Charity. We love it when family comes up. Brian Timmons was hired in March 2004 as Firefighter 1. In 2005, he moved to Firefighter 2, was promoted to Fire Engineer in 2009, and 2023 was promoted to his current position of Fire Lieutenant. Field Training Officer during his 20 years with the city, has received the Medal of Honor and Life-Saving Awards. Brian is married to his wife, Charity, and together they have 2 daughters, Jordan and Liberty. Thank you for your service. They're slippery. Devin Whedon. That whole row is going to let him come up alone?
They are.
How are you?
Good, how are you? Thank you.
Devin was hired in 2004 as a firefighter, was promoted to fire engineer in 2009, and in August of 2023 was promoted to fire lieutenant. Currently, Devin is assigned to Fire Station 6 on the C shift. Devin oversees the building, purchasing, and outfitting of the fire trucks. He has been a member of the hazmat team for the past 18 years. Devin has received 3 life-saving awards, was a Spirit Award recipient, and has received the Elks Firefighter of the Year award. Devin enjoys spending his time with his family. He has been married to his wife, Christy, for 20 years. They have 2 sons who are both in high school, Caden, who's 17, and Tyler, who's 14. Devin can be found cheering on the boys as they compete in football, cross country, and track. Sounds like busy times. Devin enjoys traveling, camping, and really any outdoor activities. Congratulations. Diane Smeltzer. Ooh, tulips and everything. You can bring them up with you. I will move over here because it looks like we need some room. I love your necklace. And as the crew gets in here, I'll let you introduce them.
I don't know who these people are, but I saw these good-looking people out in the lobby, and so I invited them in. My son Michael, my son Joel, and my daughter-in-law Brenda, my grandson Alec. Isis is hiding behind him, and then my Amy, my daughter-in-law Amy, her husband, my youngest, Aaron, and my darling granddaughter, Alora.
Yes, precious. I love all your butterflies. You'd be good at the butterfly pavilion and get a hitchhiker. Yeah. Diane is being recognized for 25 years of service as she started in February 1999 as clerk receptionist. In these days of rapid career changes, it's even more remarkable since Diana started working with the city in her 50s. Why did they put that? That wasn't nice. Diana has been a resident of a countryside community since 1977 and has been an eyewitness to the phenomenal growth that has taken place in this area. Diana has been part of the Westview Rec Center staff since it opened in 2000. Diana enjoys being able to provide valuable opportunities for fitness and recreation in the countryside community. Her job has been extremely gratifying over the years and has always allowed her many opportunities to support her neighbors in good times and bad. One example was when the Westview Rec Center served as ground zero. For the FBI, CBI, and local law enforcement agencies. Takes you right back. During the Jessica Ridgway tragedy in 2012, it was a traumatic situation, but showed the importance of strong community in time of crisis. In Diane's spare time, she enjoys spending time with her family, gardening, and doing volunteer work in the Westminster community. Certificate and a pin, but she gets a check that I won't give to your family. I'll give it to you tonight. Hide it behind there so you can get a pretty picture.
Okay, yep, we'll do this.
Say hi. Can you say hi?
Can you look at me real quick?
He's your friend. He's a butterfly. Go touch him.
One. Ready? One more. 2, 3. Perfect. Thank you. Oh, that's a miracle.
Councillor Azadi is next.
Thank you. Feels like the price is right. Lori Rutledge, come on down. Oh, sorry. I don't think there's a check in here, but. Just wanted to say to Lee, you know, I'm going to keep my dentist on speed dial. So thank you for that. So you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Lori, and this is my husband, Lou.
Hi. Thanks for coming down. Lori Rutledge is an assistant recreation facility supervisor at City Park Fitness Center. In 1994, she started working for the city as guest relations clerk and then was promoted to part-time facility assistant. Over the last 30 years, she has worked at Swim and Fitness Center, Countryside, Westview Rec Center, and City Park Rec Center. In 2022, Lori was promoted to her current position. Throughout her years of service with the city, she has received several honors and awards. In 2007, Lori was presented with several honors for assisting to help save a guest's life. Real quick, can you give us a 20-second on what that was about?
We performed CPR and first aid on a guest that was having a heart attack.
Wow. Wow. Thank you. Let's clap for that. That's pretty great. That's great. She received a Spirit Award, Meritorious City Service Award, External Customer Service Champion Award, and the Outstanding City Service Award from the Westminster Public Safety Recognition Foundation. Wow. Lori has been married for 43 years. I'm guessing to you. Yes. Okay, so it's confirmed it was to him. She enjoys spending time with her 5 grandchildren, paddleboarding, and riding her bike on all of the great bike trails in Westminster. Thank you for your service.
Next, we have Councillor DeMott to proclaim the month of May as Mental Health Awareness Month.
Could I get the groups who are here to receive the proclamations for Mental Health Month? Join me. I'm going to give a couple of quick stats on this. So in our agenda, they shared some stats as far as like what mental health is doing. And I certainly think this is seen in pretty much every part of our life anymore, unfortunately, especially since COVID. It seems like it's really impacted us even greater than it had before. But one interesting stat that they shared with us is 60% of youth with depression and 55% of adults with mental illness do not receive help. More than 2.7 million youth are experiencing severe depression. 16% of youth suffer from at least one major depression episode in the last year. I'm not going to read all of them. You can kind of see the theme with that. I will say before I let this group introduce themselves, this is very important to me. I have a daughter who has some severe mental health things that she's fought through, and she's doing very well. And she doesn't mind me sharing that because part of the whole thing here is, first and foremost, is breaking the stigma over mental health. Because if there's a stigma over it, people aren't going to get help. And that, as our society, is something that we do have a history of. Whether or not that stigma coming down has resulted in more people seeing it, it certainly has resulted in more people getting help. I can tell you when I very first was on council, I got a phone call within, I don't know, probably the first 6 months I was on council that one of our officers had to go get my daughter who was in crisis. So this is very important to me and what these folks do. This city takes mental health very seriously, both for our citizens as well as our employees. And that is some changes in the 6th year that I'm proud of that we've done in the city, both with our co-responder program, as well as additional resources for our employees internally and our partners that we share in this fight against mental health and depression and getting people the proper health that they need. So with that, I'm gonna let you each introduce yourself and say anything you'd like to.
Hi, my name is Mandy Carlson. I'm the Communications Manager at Jefferson Center for Mental Health, and I'm really honored to be here on behalf of our board, our communities, our staff, and of course the people we serve. As you mentioned, that there's just a lot going on with mental health recently, and it's definitely been exacerbated since COVID. And it's really an honor to serve these communities and bring the important awareness and education, but most of all the care to people where they need to be. And that includes community partnerships, especially with the 150 that we have across our 3 counties that we serve. So we appreciate the time that people spend here, and that recognizing this month is so important. And we just are so grateful for the opportunity to be part of this proclamation.
My name is Emily Gittleman. I'm the co-responder supervisor for the City of Westminster in the police department. I've been here for almost a year and a half now. I was able to come do this last year, which was a great honor to be invited, and a great honor again tonight. We have been more busy and more busy and more busy every single day. This year so far, our numbers for the citizens that we're serving, the people that live in this city, work in this city, come through this city, is increasing. We're at, on an average, I think about 300 contacts per month since the start of the year, which is twice when we were contracted. So we've been able to do a lot more in expanding this program and being able to help provide support to the citizens that live, work, or travel through this area. So we're really proud to be here, and we want to thank the City Council, the City Manager, and the Mayor for that opportunity to be able to do this.
I'm Erin Historic. I'm one of the co-responders with the PD. I just want to, I was not prepared to talk actually, but I am very proud to work for the City of Westminster, who really does put a lot of attention and thought into their mental health, and you can see that with what they're doing tonight and with the programs that they have.
Norm Hobart, Chief of Police, and just want to extend my appreciation to the co-responders and everything that they do each and every day for our community. And also want to give a thanks to the City Council and the City Manager's Office for bringing them in-house. I think we offer a much better service and product having those folks in-house and being city employees than we did as contract employees. And we were able to steal them, if you will, from the contract employees. So thank you for your support.
I'm Bob Hose, Deputy Fire Chief, and Fire Department, obviously, we respond a lot on these type of crisis calls, and with the co-responders have a very close relationship, and very nice with the co-responders and the police officers and fire that respond to these incidents. And again, like Chief Hubbard said, thanks to council and the city management team for the co-responders. It's a great system. We use them a lot, and very helpful for everything.
Before I read this, the last thing I'd say is you just don't know what people are dealing with, and depression might look like a smile, it might look like a frown. You just really don't know. So beyond anything else, remember that when you're dealing with people on the road, whether they're mad, they cut you off, you don't know what their day is like. So it's something that we should all try to remember. With that, whereas the city is dedicated to improving the health and well-being of its employees and its residents by working to end the stigma and focus on the essential role of mental health in our lives, and whereas mental health is essential to the overall health and emotional well-being of all children and youth and adults and families and promotes a healthy community, and whereas when mental health problems and substance use disorders are detected early and treated, people can recover and maintain a healthy and fulfilling life, whereas we recognize it is imperative that we promote better pathways to care and make it easy and possible for employees and community to access mental health care while integrating mental health services and support systems into a variety of settings, and whereas we recognize we must dramatically expand the supply, diversity, and cultural competency of our mental health and substance use workforce, and whereas increased focus on the prevention of mental health conditions and substance use disorders among children and adolescents and adults through screening and early intervention helps reduce suffering and improve outcomes, and whereas the month of May will include activities designed to increase awareness of mental health programs and resources that are available to those in need. Now, therefore, I, Nancy McNally, Mayor of the City of Westminster, on behalf of the City Council and staff, do hereby proclaim the month of May as Mental Health Awareness Month and call upon the people of Westminster to recognize the month of May as Mental Health Awareness Month. Signed this 22nd day, April 22nd, Nancy McNally, Mayor of Westminster.
And our last proclamation by Councillor Ireland for Small Business Week. Is the microphone down there?
I'm thankful for this privilege to proclaim April 28th through May 4th Small Business Week. I think that small business is really important to our economy on a local level as well as state and national level. And my husband and I have owned several small businesses while living in Westminster. I guess the Frolic Brewing Company is accept this proclamation.
Welcome, Chris. While he's walking down, the first Wednesday of every month, I might as well advertise, it has CFIRE and WCPAA's alumni that meets at Frolics from 5 to 8, and this young man is generous enough to give 10% of whatever we eat and drink during that time monthly to both of those alumni. So thank you.
Thank you. Would you like to
I guess small businesses are important to the community. I think they're the heart of the community. We appreciate all the support that Westminster has given us, from the building department to the fire and police support that we've received over the 6 years that we've been in business, and you guys know why you've been there. To Shelby, who actually asked me about this, and the grant programs during COVID that helped us through it. We appreciate everything that the city of Westminster has done for us to thrive and survive in this environment. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Whereas Westminster's economy is driven by small business who think big and take risks and work hard, and whereas from the storefront shops to the high-tech startups that keep Westminster on the cutting edge, small businesses are the backbone of our economy, and whereas small business owners have energy and passion for what they do, and whereas when we support small business, jobs are created and Westminster preserves our culture, and whereas nearly 94% of our business is small business that create jobs and spur economic growth, and whereas National Small Business Week has been recognized every year since 1963 to highlight the programs and services available to entrepreneurs throughout the U.S., Small Business Administration, and other government agencies, and whereas small business is a big business and the city's economic development division, the city's thriving chamber, and our local small business development center take an active role in advocacy, community development, and business development in Westminster. And whereas the city of Westminster supports and joins in the national effort to help small business do what they do best, grow their business, create jobs, and ensure that our communities remain as vibrant tomorrow as they are today. Now, therefore, I, Christine Ireland, and I'm Nancy McNally, Mayor of City of Westminster. Do I say my name? I don't know. I've never done this before. This is my first time. So, I, Christine Ireland, City Councilor of Westminster, Colorado, do hereby proclaim the week of April 28th to May 4th as Small Business Week, and call upon the citizens of Westminster to recognize Small Business Week and support small businesses in our community. And it was in 1963 I was born, so that was the same year as small businesses started. So that's great. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for being here. Before we start public comment, this is a time where all of you came for this fun part. You may leave now. That won't hurt our feelings. If you want to stick around and hear what we're going to talk about tonight, that's fine too. But if you want to leave, now's the time to get out of here. That brings us to the public comment portion of the meeting. It's an opportunity for the public to communicate with City Council. Each participant will be given no more than 5 minutes on any topic they choose. Public comment is not intended to be a back and forth discussion. If there is a public hearing scheduled for the item on which you wish to speak, please hold your comments and testify when the public hearing is called. Tonight, there is a public hearing on the rezoning and consideration of the PDP and ODP for Wilson Subdivision, Block 2, Lots 1 and 2. This evening, the city clerk has informed me that we received 6 emails, 4 voicemails, and how many are signed up?
We have 17 people signed up to speak.
And reminding you all that we have just transcribed the voicemails into online posts that we get, and it's also in the packet. It's just because sometimes we couldn't hear people, and we sat here not knowing what they said. So that's what they've done, so every voice is heard. And City Clerk, would you please call the first live person to this podium?
The first person is Mary LaRonde.
Welcome.
There's been a lot of talk about our Westminster Dog Park. And in doing some research on your website, on our website, there are 6,600 acres of parks and open space, 125 miles of trails, which I am extremely grateful that you keep plowed all winter long, 7 rec facilities, 2 golf courses, and 2 libraries. In July of 2023, Mr. Herrera Mishler was hired, and he manages, I'm aware, of a $10.7 million budget. And part of that goes to the golf, the rec centers, the libraries, and certainly our trails and open space. When I look at that $10.7 million budget, how much of that is being spent to maintain our dog park? I would venture to guess that the financial upkeep of the ball fields alone, let alone the golf courses, would be well in excess of what our dog park takes to maintain. Also, in doing some research and looking at the city's strategic plan, there is certainly a mission statement and a vision statement, guiding principles, and one of the things that I had to highlight was transparency and accountability. Engage in a two-way dialogue with the people of Westminster, clearly communicate our intentions and decisions, and take responsibility for all that we do, thereby earning the trust and confidence of the community. Trust is a big deal. There's no trust, as the plan for this park has been unknown and uncommunicated and appears to have been masked in secrecy since July of 2023, I'm guessing. Diversity, equity, and inclusion, also part of the strategic plan to achieve equitable process for the people of Westminster by providing for all voices to be heard and drawing upon community diversity in decision-making. I'm not sure about how much that's been used lately with respect to our dog park. Solve problems at their source, leading to a better quality of life and greater prosperity for all in our community. With such a large percentage of the town wanting to leave the park as is this solving problems at their source, as the strategic plan recommends? A shared sense of community to foster equitable opportunities that help residents feel at home and connected. Quality of life. The dog park is not diminishing the quality of life, but only enhancing it. And I'm taking this right from our website. There is an adaptive management process that is also to be used in decision making. Certainly there is a vision, and the city considers social landscape, ecosystems, and on and on. We need to develop goals. But the evaluation of that has not taken place properly, in my opinion. How much public input do we need to follow your own adaptive management process? And that is outlined again. This doesn't appear to be the process used in dealing with our dog park. This process is all well and good, but if you don't follow it, what good is it? So the last thing is pulling up certainly the map of the city relative to the breakdown of open space. And according to this map online, 2.5%, 78 acres, is considered sensitive land. 3,067 acres are considered urban natural. Our dog park is not in a sensitive, it's certainly bigger than the sensitive area, and it is urban natural.
And your,
So-
your time's up. Thank you.
Okay, that went quick.
The next speaker is Kara Huck. Welcome.
Hello, thank you. Thanks for having us. So my name's Kara Huckey, and we have a little project off of 71st and Lowell, essentially, that is on docket for tonight. So we wanted to just kind of give you a little backstory and tell you about us a little bit. It's the Westminster Station Apartments.
Yeah, it's item 10D.
Okay. I was trying to remember the address of the public hearing. Sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. So just a little backstory about myself is I'm a resident of the city. I have been for 40 plus years. I went to Harris Park. I went to Hotchkiss. I went to Westminster High School. But I am a staple of our community. I've owned a lot of small businesses, as you have, in the city as well. And we are just trying to get our project approved and through the final gun here. So I'm trying to think of what else I want to say because time's running.
Council, thanks for having us tonight, and it was a privilege to be up here with those who served our community. I'm Chris Weatherman. I'm a Colorado native, 4th generation. I have a small business, had a small business. I retired and sold it several years ago. I believe we're unique in that fact, in that all three of us ran or had small businesses, and now our families have taken those over and have small businesses. In light of the small business tonight that you have recognized, we are that. And we hope that our project will be a vital part of the median cost sector of the housing for Westminster.
Again, they've said great things. We're all Colorado natives, all small business people of the community.
And can we just get your name, please?
Eddie Pacheco. Sorry about that, Eddie Pacheco. We want this to be a win-win project. Our project is in an opportunity zone area, so an area that's a little bit dilapidated, that has an opportunity to improve, but is identified by the city with the light rail to kind of be a cornerstone of the future. So we hope to be one of the few to get our project approved. We've been working at this for about 4 years. We are more of a moderately priced apartment building that we believe will clean up the neighborhood quite a bit, improve the neighborhood quite a bit, and serve the community. So thank you for your support.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Jim Light.
Welcome.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Jim Light. Thank you so much for hearing me. I'm 5th generation native. My parents homesteaded Steamboat Springs in Arvada. I love my dogs. Do you know what a happy dog looks like? That park makes my dogs happy. I have 3 little dogs between my girlfriend and myself. We tell them that we're going to take them for a walk, and they go crazy. We go up there and we walk around. Not only do they need it, I need it. I need to walk around and do the exercise. I work from home, so sometimes that's the only exercise I get in a week. And not lying, I need it. But it makes my dog so happy. We meet a lot of people there. We interact with so many people there. Yeah, there's other dog parks we can go to. You know, the one over there on Lowell, it's small. There's not that really much to run around. This park over there is fantastic. I've been going there for over 10 years. Several dogs, some that have passed away. And I just love it. I just love the people there. I don't understand what the issue is, and now come to light that it's been going on since last July, that this possibility they're going to get rid of that. I don't understand that, why we're not told about this before. I guess the other thing that I don't understand is what does it take to maintain that? I mean, I don't see a lot maintained going on there. I see volunteers come out and pick up after people that don't know how to take after their dogs. And so I see volunteers, so why not let the volunteers take care of the place instead of spending the money? I bet you would find 100 people or more that would come out there every weekend and do whatever it takes to maintain that place. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you. The next speaker is Rose Nahama Hanas. I apologize. Welcome.
Hello. Oh man, I'm nervous. All right. My name's Rose Namayunis, and I am a MMA fighter, UFC 2-time champion. And I originally moved to Colorado for that reason, for the training, the high altitude, and all that stuff. But my lifelong dream really is to be in nature with animals and be a farmer one day. So, you know, living in the city sometimes can be challenging for me, but it's something I have to do for now until I achieve my dreams. And it used to be very hard until I found Westminster, and mainly because of the dog park. And, you know, it's become my sanctuary, really. And, you know, I would say, you know, talking about mental health, it really means a lot to me because in my family I have, you know, we dealt with, my father had schizophrenia, so mental health is a very huge priority for me. And the dog park makes me happy and it keeps me mentally very healthy. And I know it really does a lot for the whole community as well. Just seeing all the dogs being able to run around and be happy. And also just like physically, I can do all my workouts there. I can do all hill sprints and, you know, just run around the dog park and be able to run with my dog. And, you know, I had an injury on my knee one time, so I couldn't hold my dog. And it was easier for me to walk around the dog park and give him some exercise as well. And I would say I probably won two world titles because of this dog park. But also, in addition to that, just the socialization that the dogs get at this park is very important because my dogs would not be as well behaved as they are if it wasn't for this place. Any dogs that don't like each other, they can just go their separate ways because it's so huge. I wouldn't take my dogs to smaller dog parks because there's just fights there. And the 10 plus years that I've been going to this dog park, I haven't seen any dog fights. And I'm sure there's, you know, sometimes little like barking at each other or something like that. But like I said, if they don't like each other, they just go separate ways. And if this is all about the habitat and the environment, I would just like to change the attitude between, you know, just trying to protect the habitat and separating ourselves and excluding the community, and instead try to integrate, try to involve the community so that we can, you know, improve the environment rather than just put a Band-Aid on the issue. And then, you know, I feel like if we exclude the community, it's just gonna have spillover problems in other places. And so one suggestion I would make is, you know, we become the solution and not the problem. And with all the people that are so passionate about this, we can get together, we can plant native bushes and shrubs all along the widening trails in the narrow spaces. And I mean, narrowing the paths with these native shrubs, it can retain moisture, it can stabilize nitrogen, it can, you know, protect from erosion and provide food and shelter for wildlife, and many other benefits, like it would just make it appear more natural, way more natural than the bike paths that were being built there. And so that's just, you know, some of my suggestions. In addition to that, I think we could also raise money for compostable poop bags, you know, so that way we can reduce some of the, you know, I guess lightening the load on the landfills. Because the poop problem is not going to go away if we just reduce the size of the park. The dogs are still going to poop, and all that stuff is going to go to the landfill regardless. And then also, in addition to that, I think we can, you know, there's other open spaces. We can maybe add some more dog parks to alleviate some of that traffic, just as maybe some suggestion. But ultimately, I would just really ask to not punish these dogs. Please, you know, give us a chance to make this park better and make our community better. And yeah, I would just really love it to stay open because, you know, I wasn't planning on getting into politics after I retire, but hopefully it stays open. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Tracy Haggie. Remember, our protocols, we don't clap. The next speaker is Tracy Haggie. Welcome.
Hello, my name is Tracy and I'm a member of the Westie Dog Park Guardians. I have handed you all a timeline of events pertaining to the Westminster Hills Open Space Off-Leash Dog Park. I'm not going to go through the entire timeline, but I do want to point out a few key dates. In November of 2014, there was an open space stewardship plan adopted requiring annual cleanup days. This plan also mentions kiosks showing designated trails, trail maps including QR codes, and trail ID signs with different trail merge points. In April of 2016, there was a meeting at the Westview Rec Center regarding the Greenway Trail, where it was stated that signs would be put up alerting bikers that they were entering an off-leash dog area and they were to yield to people and dogs. In June of 2016, the Greenway Trail was completed. In January 2017 was the last scheduled Westie cleanup day at the dog park, even though it was required annually as part of the stewardship plan. In April of 2022, trash cans and some bag dispensers were removed. On a side note, the city's website says the city contracts with Poo-Free Parks and that this company provides free dispensers and bags at no cost to the city and maintains these units on a regular basis. In June of 2023, the Westminster Hills Dog Park signs were changed to read open space. The very first survey focused on preserving our open space was conducted in June of 2023, and the grading for the cement bike path started the following month. Fast forward to January 2024, the ERO report was completed, and they had the open house where many of us learned about the proposed reduction for the very first time. On March 6th, I spoke at the meeting, at the rec center, encouraging the PRL to look at this as an opportunity of being a model dog park and a benefit to our city rather than framing it as a problem. This proposed reduction and my passion for this park inspired me to take a road trip which led me to 9 dog parks and dog beaches across the western United States in search of what makes a dog park loved, what leads to its successes, and to some of its desirable traits. Some key takeaways. People love their dog parks. It did not matter how big or small, not one of the parks I visited was larger than ours, not even close. All parks had poop bag stations and trash cans. Majority had double-gated entrances between the parking lot and the park. In most of these locations, patrons report that there are 2 to 4 volunteer cleanup days a year, and in one location they had a weekly cleaning and sanitation time. Clear signs were posted about rules, trails, and some were educational. At 3 of the parks, I saw parks departments doing rounds, and at 2, trash cans were being emptied while I was there. In the larger parks, both dogs and people seemed calmer and more at ease. No place that I visited had any parking or visitor fees. While visiting these parks, I saw such creative ways to keep parks beautiful and safe. The first park I went to proudly displayed a large plaque near the entrance sharing it was honored as one of the top 10 U.S. dog parks. This park had all its trash cans and elevated planter boxes, dog water fountains, and even a hose and wash station prior to the exit of the park. At larger parks, there were kiosks with trail maps and well-marked trails, as well as signs educating the public around things such as native plants and wildlife, as well as signs and ropes around revegetation areas, closures due to nesting birds, education about the closure of nesting birds, education about children and off-leash dog areas, and one dog park even had a dog reactivity chart talking about different types of dog behavior you may see in the park. Some of the larger issues I saw on my trip were around the smaller sized dog parks where dogs and people could not spread out. Some dogs backed others into corners of the fenced areas. People were not actively monitoring their dogs because they were sitting, and others were standing by the fence and not moving around with their dogs. These smaller parks had a tendency to be barren, and some had holes where dogs had been digging. At a large number of dog parks, people did talk about dog waste being an issue, and when I asked what they felt may be a solution, many suggested even more community cleanup days than they already had. As I traveled across the U.S. and planned my trip, I planned my trip based on these off-leash dog parks and beaches. I spent money at hotels, stopped for gas, and supported local restaurants and businesses. I met many other people traveling with their dogs to see these attractions. After visiting these parks, including the one that claims to be the largest off-leash dog park at 138 acres, I realized even more that our park is truly one-of-a-kind destination, one where you can walk, run, or bike with your dog off-leash, one that promotes community connections as well as physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being, one where we have a happy and tired dogs. I encourage the City Council to have the PRL implement the things that were outlined in the 2014 Stewardship Plan, the community cleanup days, trail maps and signage, as well as put up signs where the Greenway Trail enters the off-leash dog area to alert bikers that for a small section they are in an off-leash dog area.
Thank you. Your time's up.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Sherry Griffin. Welcome.
Hi. Hi there. My name's Sherry Griffin. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm usually with a dog park group, but tonight I'm here again with concerns about the continuing disregard for the environment and public health regarding the proposed Greenway Trail construction. That was bad enough when I spoke to you last month, having a quarter of a mile more to complete it to Indiana. That distance was documented in the FLAP grant application, which I provided to you in the packet in March. Since then, I've been made aware that because the current Greenway Trail ends in Broomfield, it cannot be completed from that point, since Broomfield withdrew from the IGA. It will have to branch off of its current path further to the east and south, adding approximately another quarter of a mile for a total distance of roughly 1/2 mile. And I've enclosed a map in the packet that I gave to you guys. That's a 1/2 mile of construction, road grading, digging in contaminated soil, and destruction of the natural environment. Within this area is an active burrowing owl nest. I've also provided you with a copy of the wildlife habitat map, which was included in the ERO report, which illustrates the site of the nest and recommended buffer zone. The nest site is directly south of the current path of the Greenway Trail. This is inside the CPW recommended buffer zone of 1/8 of a mile or 660 feet and up to a quarter of a mile. And human encroachment activities, including hiking and biking, which are not permitted during the nesting season March 15th through August 31st. Every year, no hiking or biking within 660 feet. Yet the current path of the Greenway Trail is roughly 400 feet north of the nest site. Large industrial disturbances are not permitted or authorized within a quarter of a mile of the nest site either. Although burrowing owls may not be actively nesting during this entire period, they may be present at burrows up to a month before egg laying and several months after young have fledged. And since it is recommended that efforts to eradicate prairie dogs do not occur between March 15th and October 31st, it would stand to reason construction would not be permitted within that time frame either. Clearly, U.S. Fish and Wildlife is continuing construction on the western side of Indiana. 9 News ran a story on Friday, April the 12th, and once again, I drove over there and took pictures. I've also included an aerial view of the construction of the concrete bike road from Google Earth, dated October 19th, 2023. The destruction of the earth and the environment is mind-boggling. So I'm asking you again, please don't let this continue. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. The next speaker is Carol Gossenheimer. Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Carol Gossenheimer, and I'm here today to talk about an article of one of our residents of the city of Westminster, a 2-page article. Charlene Willie was featured in a story in the Westminster window, highlighting her tireless efforts towards improving the lives of citizens impacted by the deleterious effects of the Rocky Mountain Metropolitan Airport. I understand this article was shared with all of you, but many of you understandably busy with your lives and jobs, so may have not had a chance to fully read it. I wanted to highlight a couple of very important statements from the article, and I quote, "Exposure to lead can lead to brain and organ damage, seep into bones, and be especially damaging to children. Noise generated from low-level flights from RMMA is just as bad or even worse than the threat from lead. Persistent noise levels can destroy sleep and worsen conditions such as Alzheimer's and other disorders. As the airport has grown, so has the damage it has rained down on residents. Almost as disheartening," Willie said, "is that local and state officials have often brushed off the perils posed by this airport. This is even after Willie and other airport critics have demanded that city councils and state lawmakers curtail activities at RMMA. Willie is among neighbors of local airports pushing for the passage of HB 24-1235 to reduce aviation impact on Colorado. Clearly, the community needs help from this legislature to bring this disregard for public welfare under control," Willie told the lawmakers. The article recognized Willie for her unwavering work and dedication towards improving the mental and physical health and welfare of members of the communities surrounding the airport. It's important for all of us to recognize and acknowledge the amount of time and effort community members like Charlene Willie put in towards these efforts. I'd also like to recognize other surrounding communities who have indeed listened to their constituents and taken action. The voices of community members were loud and clear to the town of Superior and Boulder County and resulted in lawsuits that were filed against Jefferson County and RMMA. In addition, Broomfield specifically called out the voices and requests of their citizens when they decided to withdraw from the CNR. The point here that's illustrated is that holding strong against your citizens should not be rewarded or applauded, but instead, every citizen has a responsibility to listen to the voices of their citizens and take action. I ask that Westminster consider the voice of your citizens who are crying out for help with the atrocities going on with RMMA. The mental and physical health and welfare and property values of our citizens are at risk, and we need help. The IGA, as it is currently written, is ineffective, outdated, and not inclusive. I ask the Westminster City Council to vote to dissolve the current IGA and collaborate with others towards rewriting it. At this point, we know that the CNR has been essentially ineffective. While some people may tell you that there have been solutions implemented by the CNR, please also know that those solutions are minuscule in comparison to an almost 80% growth in operations since 2017. No minor change in flight paths can in any way make up for the exponential growth in operations, noise, and lead pollution. And if you ask any impacted community member outside of the Westminster City Council if the Community Noise Roundtable has had any positive impact on their life, I'm quite certain you would find out that the answer is a resounding no. Had the CNR been effective, there would not be multiple lawsuits against RMMA and Jeffco. Multiple communities would not be leaving the Community Roundtable, and communities would not be voting to dissolve the current IGA. Please join other communities and vote to dissolve the current IGA and to rewrite it to be something that is effective, useful for our communities, and inclusive. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Charlene Willie. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity to speak tonight. I ask that you direct Mr. DeMott Westminster's representative on the RMMA Noise Roundtable, to vote to dissolve the current IGA on May 2nd in favor of creating a new IGA that allows its 8 members to submit ideas for a new opportunity for a successful negotiation. We don't want to burn it down. We simply want to make it work. Let Jefferson County, the airport sponsor, bear the responsibility for structuring and for funding this process and making it work. Westminster has an even more pressing concern about expansion of RMMA, protection of Stanley Lake, our primary water source. RMMA sits less than 2 nautical miles uphill from Stanley Lake, so groundwater contamination from this identified PFAS site is a threat. Urgency exists around any building activity that disturbs soil. Plans are moving ahead for the removal of a crosswind runway to make room for other expansion. That runway was the site of over 40 years of contamination from leaded aviation fuel. A beaker or so is dumped on a runway every time a plane is refueled, and includes other toxins like firefighting foam and a variety of other nasty petroleum products. Contamination from airport runways has always been an environmental issue. For example, when Stapleton runways were removed, up to 27 inches of soil was removed to prevent this kind of disaster. Now the stakes are higher. The EPA has recently designated PFAS chemicals as hazardous substances, requiring that releases of these chemicals into the soil or water be reported to federal and state officials. New, more stringent guidelines have been imposed for drinking water, creating major costs for cities like Westminster. I hope that the plans for the new water treatment include provision to meet these new standards. Brighton's new plant already includes such mitigation measures. Nevertheless, the city plans to spend about $580,000 to research, test, and design a new filter system, and at least $8 million to build those filters. It also expects to spend at least $1 million a year to replace used filters, or to replace those filters and dispose of the old and used ones. So far, RMMA has refused to do an environmental impact analysis of the runway tear-out, and the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment has also declined action. That places responsibility on this city council to demand appropriate action. I leave that to you and ask that you take such action now. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Cindy Stout. Welcome.
Hello, good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and esteemed councilors. My name is Cindy Stout. I am here to fill in for Andrew Guthrie, who usually delivers the Westy Dog Park Guardians Who's Cat report. He apologizes for not being present tonight and sends his regards to all of you. The April 9th CAT meeting opened with a Q&A on the city's decision-making process for the Who's Dog Park, and we believe the process was clarified. PRL also presented information on several subjects, including noxious weeds, prairie dogs, and the irrigation ditch that flows through the dog park. To touch on a couple of these points. Number one, PRL advised that CAT should not spend time talking about management of the irrigation ditch, as PRL already has a plan. After the meeting, Andrew received a follow-up email from PRL stating they will be developing infrastructure, such as fencing, to prohibit any public contact with the water, but those mitigations will be determined based on the CAT's recommendations. So if you're confused, CAT was essentially told not to waste time on ditch management, but was then told via email the ditch mitigations will be based on CAT recommendations. Our next speaker will go through well-researched facts regarding the irrigation ditch and needed mitigations, if any, as the ditch is an integral piece of the dog park and very important to park goers. Number 2, because of the brief discussion about prairie dogs, Andrew asked PRL to provide the 2006 Prairie Dog Management Plan, as is referenced in the 2014 WHO's Management Plan. PRL stated they'd send out an electronic copy, but even after a follow-up reminder email by Andrew on April 16th, as of yesterday, April 21st, that document had not yet been received, and it is needed as reference material for the next CAT meeting. The original plan for the CAT was to have 4 meetings, with an option for a 5th meeting if necessary. CAT has completed 3 meetings and is showing 0% progress towards goals established at the first meeting. At this point, Andrew is frustrated that the CAT will not be able to present recommendations that aren't rushed and incomplete. With that in mind, Andrew, representing the Guardians, will submit a well-researched draft proposal at the next CAT meeting on May 1st. Our goal is simple: create a starting point for debate and discussion among CAT members. Concurrently, the Guardians are working to complete a comprehensive solutions document to City Council in the near future. We look forward to having that discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Tonya Yost. Welcome.
Thank you for your time. I'm here to follow up with what Cindy said and to speak on behalf of Saving Our Dog Park and for a prudent, cost-effective management plan. I'm also a member of the CAT for Who's. At the 4/9/24 CAT meeting, CAT was told not to involve ourselves with issues regarding water quality at the ditch as set forth in the conditions report, which tested for E. coli in the ground and the water at Who's. On 4/9, I also questioned staff again if an EPA violation had been issued and was told no. I reviewed the EPA violations website, which confirms nothing related to the Sims Dog Park ditch. I did provide a couple documents and a few pages from the ERO conditions report that I'll touch on. I can also conclude that there is no active investigation or violation because the EPA standards are simply not applicable. Page 6 of the ERO conditions report states, the threshold values are based on studies that show a link between illness and fecal contamination in recreational waters. Interestingly, the conditions report fails to set forth an EPA definition of recreational waters, but I went to the website, and the EPA defines recreational waters as areas with primary contact recreation, which are in part activities where immersion and ingestion are likely, and there is a high degree of bodily contact with the water, such as swimming, bathing, tubing, or similar water contact activities. I found no EPA recreational water standard applicable to irrigation ditches. The irrigation ditch is a man-made conduit for transporting water to farms and businesses. I found nothing that deemed it to be a recreational body of water. I've also never seen anyone bathing, swimming, or tubing in the ditch at the dog park. The conditions report made no notice of any observations of primary contact recreation either. Even if the EPA recreational water standard did apply, the entire posture that the dog waste is the cause of the E. coli findings has been admitted to be invalid by PRL staff, as the main test site was the inflow area of the ditch near Sims, and therefore not caused by the dogs. I urge you to review the conditions report on page 6, the table 1, which I will touch on, as it also sheds light on the ruse that the ditch must be closed off by fencing. Mauer Reservoir was also tested at the same time as the ditch. You'll see the initial test date of 5/23, Mauer had an initial reading of 2,419 CFUs per 100 milliliters. The same date the Sims ditch had a reading of 32.7. When asked if Mauer would be fenced off to protect the public from this health hazard, I was told no, as it does not have as much recreation. No level of recreational standard was provided. If the conditions report E. coli findings were a valid concern, one would expect immediate and ongoing consultation with the representative ditch company. The Dry Creek Valley Ditch Authority was contacted and advised they had only recently been made aware of E. coli levels a mere 3 weeks ago. Since November, I've personally listened to the conditions report presentation 5 different times, but yet the actual controlling authority for the ditch was only contacted 3 weeks ago.
They were shocked to hear of any alleged fencing plan, as they have a 25-foot easement on either side of the ditch. They do not do E. coli testing of the ditch as it flows to the Great Western Reservoir at that location, where water that would be used for drinking is diluted. They simply post signs and will provide free signs to the city. They posted signs already inside Skystone, where the ditch is open. The city has other signs all around City Park, warning that reclaimed water is used for irrigation and not to drink the water. This similar situation could be applied at the dog park. My research has also located a similar situation with the dog park in Nampa, Idaho. Like Tracy, I often road trip and visit dog parks, and this is a great one. Their website, I did a snippet on the front page and a document that they have on their website, which talks all about E. coli and the natural things found at their parks. Their page actually states, we test the pond water for E. coli levels, but there is no research to date identifying a CFU level that would put dogs at risk. Expert microbiologists explain dogs have a high tolerance to the exposure of E. coli, and signs are posted at the park explaining that humans are not allowed to swim. I ask that the city require any plan to fence the ditch be investigated, and that required legal authority be provided before tens of thousands of dollars are spent to needlessly and irresponsibly attempt to fence off an irrigation ditch, which is not a recreational water. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next speaker is Ben Heller. Welcome.
Hi. I'm Ben Heller. I moved to Colorado with my girlfriend 3 years ago, and we purchased a home in Westminster this past August. In our time here, we've had the opportunity to explore many of Westminster's trails, greenways, and what we consider to be the crown jewel of its park system, the Westminster Dog Parks. A few Saturdays ago when I was at the park, I had the opportunity to speak with two young ladies, Tracy and Beth from Westy Dogs, about the proposed changes happening to the park, and wanted to add my voice to the discussion. While I'm a programmer and chemical engineer by trade, my first love will always be history. When I moved to Westminster and learned about the history of Rocky Flats and read the contrasting arguments around how people thought it should be used, I couldn't help but appreciate how complicated of an issue was represented in those few square miles. A person, or city councilor, could spend an entire lifetime studying just one facet of its history and barely scratch the surface. So I am incredibly grateful to all the passionate and educated individuals who have taken their time to share their expertise with the council. For my part, given that I'm not a biostatistician or radionucleotide analyst, my advocacy is limited to expressing my desire to keep a wonderful local resource intact by being here tonight. I say this not to diminish the complicated history of Rocky Flats, the alleged environmental impact of the Westminster Dog Park, or the economic impact of the Rocky Mountain Greenway. However, as a new member of this community, I will say that its existence in its current form was a major deciding factor when choosing Westminster as a home. I am hopeful that the City Council will ultimately see value in keeping the dog park as it is currently designed. I mentioned earlier that I moved to Colorado several years ago. My original home is Atlanta. In Atlanta, we have a similar conundrum with two bike trails known as the Silver Comet and the Beltline. The Silver Comet runs from the suburbs of Atlanta to Birmingham, and the Beltline connects to the interior of the city. I bring these trails up for two reasons. I have ridden almost every mile of them and completely understand the value of connected bike systems. Similarly, I have taken many rides on our local Westminster trails like Little and Big Dry Creek, and look forward to the day that I can explore and commute on two wheels, not four. I also bring up the Atlanta bike system because it has been hamstrung by years of argument about property values and other environmental factors, so I'm sympathetic to the challenges being faced by the council. As both a dog lover and an avid biker, I believe I've made a good faith effort to understand the complexity facing the City Council and residents of Westminster. I also believe the PRL can best serve the residents of Westminster by maintaining its crown jewel, the Westminster Dog Park, in its current design, and find other options for the Rocky Mountain Greenway. As a side note, the online recordings of public comments for these meetings are pretty hard to hear sometimes, so I don't know if you guys have an audio engineer, but maybe have them do a second pass when you do the recordings of these. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is David Acunto. Welcome.
It's nice to be on this side of the dais. Sounds like you have tough decisions to make coming up. Honorable Mayor, distinguished members of City Council, thank you for this opportunity to speak on a matter that deeply concerns both our police department and the community that it serves. I stand before you as the president of the Westminster Fraternal Order of Police, representing the men and women of our police department. I'm here to express our firm opposition to House Bill 24-1460, a measure introduced with less than 20 days before the end of session without any consultation with those who it directly impacts. Before I delve into the specific challenges posted by this bill, it is crucial to understand the gravity of the situation. By categorizing a broad and ambiguously defined scope of actions as a Class 2 misdemeanor, this bill jeopardizes the careers of our officers by subjecting them to post-decertification, potential imprisonment, and sets a precocious standard that is open to subjective interpretation and enforcement. First, vague definitions and subjectivity. This bill's failure to define crucial terms such as unprofessional conduct and reasonably aware introduces an unsustainable level of ambiguity. This vagueness is not just a matter of semantics. It is a potential threat to the careers of our dedicated officers who find themselves unsure of how to comply with unclear mandates. I ask, how can our officers uphold the law if the law itself is not clear? It expands what must be reported to include not just witness misconduct, but any misconduct that is merely heard about. This could mean anything from a critical comment on our department's Facebook page to hearsay about other agencies, potentially triggering mandatory investigations without credible basis. Increased legal vulnerability. This proposal exacerbates the already challenging legal landscape of our officers. Colorado has led the way in eliminating qualified immunity, increasing personal stakes for every officer. By introducing yet another layer of potential criminal liability, House Bill 24-1460 seems punitive rather than corrective, potentially deterring talented individuals from law enforcement careers. There's lack of law enforcement consultation. This process behind this bill introduction is equally concerning. The absence of any dialogue with law enforcement agencies denies professionals a voice in legislation that directly affects them. It affects our daily duties and our very futures. This approach does not reflect the partnership and respect that effective governments must uphold. Officer well-being. While not the primary focus today, it is important to note that officer well-being is critically undermined in this legislative pressure. When officers are more worried about legal repercussions in ambiguous situations than making split-second decisions to protect our community, their health and operational effectiveness are compromised. Incentivize complaints. By mandating free release of body-worn camera footage for any complainant, however trivial, this bill incentivizes unfounded complaints that only leads to misuse of resources, but also undermines the trust between the community and the police, as officers are subjected to increased scrutiny based on potential baseless allegations. Implications for the HR department. This bill's modifications to whistleblower protections could complicate the HR processes. Officers have the ability to claim retaliation in a broad array of situations, making it difficult to enforce standards without facing legal challenges to the city. Historically, this council has stood by our law enforcement community. I urge you to maintain this stance. I implore you to make a motion and take a vote to officially oppose this bill tonight. Thank you for your attention and for your support of law enforcement professionals here in this city. And as a side note, I've been on your side of the dais, I currently am. I know how difficult these decisions can be to make. So thank you for the community for stepping out and talking about the dog park and the Rocky Mountain Flats. It's very difficult to talk in front of council. But I would really appreciate you to take a stand with this. This is a rushed bill and puts the city and its officers at stake. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Leslie V. Welcome.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here. I and my family have been residents of Westminster and Broomfield since 1997. I own a small business, and I am a survivor of a mental health crisis. The off-leash open space is an asset to the community. It's a place where people of all ages and on all walks of life can gather and interact without regard to social or financial status. It's literally the only place that I've seen women and feminine individuals can walk by themselves and consistently feel safe. The park as it is a necessity to emergency first responders, care workers, trauma counselors, public school employees. In other words, are essential workers without whom we as a society would not be able to function. The overwhelming majority of the community is opposed to reducing the off-leash area and open to putting in hours of volunteer work to keep the trails beautiful. It is under the guise of conservation that is cited as the primary reason for reducing the size of the dog park. Mental illness can be deadly, as I'm sure you all know, and leaving 420 acres of open space off-leash works directly in conservation of human life as a suicide preventative, which is vital as the rate of suicide among young people is rising every single day. In November of 2022, my fiance passed away unexpectedly, and the only reason that I'm still alive is because I was able to go to the dog park, and that's the only reason that I am sane. And anyway, if the city of Westminster cares about the lives and the well-being of its citizens at all, the amount of off-leash open space should remain unchanged. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Chris Allred. Welcome.
Good evening, Council. Hi, my name is Chris Allred. I'm a resident of Longmont, and I work at Rocky Mountain Peace and Justice Center. Just returning here tonight to thank the Council for your discussion on March 11th. We're really grateful that you made a commitment to hold a balanced study session regarding the Rocky Mountain Greenway. And I was hoping to return this evening to share an update and to check in on the status of the scheduling for that study session. And I'm also following up on the recent 9 News story from April 12th, which was mentioned in an earlier comment, with the title, "Why Are Crews Digging at a Former Nuclear Weapons Site?" This recent digging at Rocky Flats highlights the urgency of this issue. This digging occurred only 1 week after an extreme wind event throughout the Front Range, Denver metro region. This high wind is spreading contamination downwind, directly towards Westminster Hills open space, towards the dog park, homes, and businesses. I just would like to highlight a few of the points on this one-page flyer that I passed around. This is from Dr. Leroy Moore, whose life's work has been revolving around Rocky Flats and nonviolence. So this flyer talks all about risk from plutonium in the environment at Rocky Flats. And the picture you'll see here on the front of the page is of plutonium in a piece of lung tissue. It shows the radiation emanating to the cells nearby in the lung tissue. The risk of plutonium is when it becomes internalized, and that is how it connects to these high wind events, because that brings respirable particles of plutonium into the air, and if those become lodged in one's body, they continue to radiate over the course of one's life. One of the challenging parts of this issue is that the latent period for cancer is likely to be 20 to 30 years. So we don't see the effects of this until later in life. So I need to highlight that this is a very long-term decision that we are making here in regards to public health. These particles are 10 or less microns in size. I'd also like to highlight a study by Tom K. High and colleagues at Columbia University, which demonstrated that a single plutonium alpha particle induces mutations in mammal cells. This replication of these damaged cells constitutes genetic harm. Hermann Muller awarded a Nobel Prize for his discovery that radiation exposure had genetic effects harmful to future generations. Again, this is a very long-term decision we are talking about here. And that's why it concerns me sometimes that this project is promoted, that in the short-term vision, that this will help people crossing the street to traffic. But the long-term concerns far outweigh the short-term concerns of crossing Indiana Street. Rocky Flats should never have been open for public recreation. And it is not a guarantee that it will remain opened. Local governments and local school districts continue to establish new precedents. On January 30th, Boulder County voted to establish their position that they officially oppose recreation at Rocky Flats. So the points that you'll find on this flyer are, the Department of Energy will not tell you this information, because then they would be held accountable for poisoning our communities. CDPHE will not tell you about the information here, because they are operating under regulatory capture by the Department of Energy. Every year, the Department of Energy funds the CDPHE Hazardous Materials and Waste Management Division. I can provide you the documentation. So in summary, I'm returning to highlight the urgency, and we would be very grateful to hear an update about the balanced study session. Thank you very much for your time, and hope you have a good evening.
Thank you. The next speaker is Sasha Stiles. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. My name is Sasha Stiles. I'm an MD with a master's in public health. I'm here just to discuss our public health. I have cared for patients for 50 years. I also live about a mile away from Rocky Flats. I've been also the medical consultant for Atomic Worker Advocacy, and it is their job my job for 10 years to review hundreds of medical records from people from my community, Superior, your community, Broomfield, and others who have moved away, who have worked at Rocky Flats and have disorders which have compromised their health massively, and many have died tragic deaths due to their work at Rocky Flats. Tragic. I have, by looking at their medical records, have learned a lot, and it compels me to come here. I'm not going to bother you with all the stories that I could tell you, but I would love to at some point. But what I would say, don't worry, but what I would say, I am able to prove through my work looking at the Department of Labor records and the records from my Rocky Flats patients about their cancers, their arthritises, their blood disorders, their lung diseases, and many others that are due to plutonium, but also to every chemical in massive doses under the sun, from A, arsenic, to Z, zinc, that are produced in the dust that have been accumulated from their work at Rocky Flats, which has been theoretically, and I say theoretically, pushed underground and bulldozed underground when there was the cleanup. It is just underground, and it comes up in the winds that we all experienced, another one recently. And this dust will travel. Imagine if this dust were to travel as it does on the tires from bicycles that will go from area along the Greenway on the Rocky Flats side over to your community. Not everyone's going to die from this dust. Not everyone's going to get arsenic poisoning from this dust, but some people will, and you may not know about it for decades. But I can tell you 100% it has happened, and the Department of Labor, if I can prove it, which I have many times, will be able to help those people get compensation for their devastating illnesses. So what happens is once you breathe a particle of dust, it usually comes in from your nose. Your kids might say, "Mom, I had a nosebleed." Well, it may not just be a nosebleed from bumping their head. It may be from the dust entering their body. 5, 10, maybe 20 years later, they may not just have laryngitis the way I do, but they'll have illnesses in their lungs. Once it's taken care of their lungs, it will go into their bloodstream, go into their blood, cause blood disorders, as well as bone cancers and brain cancers, etc. This is true whether it's a radiation chemical or a chemical such that we've just talked about. The dust won't harm everyone, but it will harm enough of us. So I think you need to take heed, and before you consider having the Greenway actually bring more dust into your community via kids, you need to consider this. I understand safety risks around Indiana Avenue, and I think this is not a simple 1 and 1 equals 2 question, but I do know these risks exist, and I urge you to have a study session on this Greenway project sooner rather than later, because they're bulldozing now, and it's not just the owls, though I do believe the owls deserve our help as well. So hopefully you will get a study session soon to look at all of these issues, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. The next speaker is Tom Lampo. Welcome.
It's nice to be in front of everybody in front of Westminster again. I'm here to lift up the city and the people of Westminster in prayer. Please join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, in your Son's Jesus' righteous and victorious name, you are the God of heaven and earth. All glory and honor to you, Almighty Father. We invite you here to be with us in the city of Westminster. Your word in Jeremiah 27:5, you state, "With my great power and outstretched arm, I made the earth and its people and the animals that are on it, and I give it to anyone I please." You are the creator of everything and the ruler of all. You see all, you know all. Nothing escapes you. It doesn't matter what outcome occurs to any situation, you have everything under control, and you have secured victory in the spiritual battle. In your wisdom, you have placed us all here at this time to witness and be a part of everything that is taking place. I lift up all the people of Westminster to you and ask that you reveal truth to everyone. In John 8:32 it states, "And you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." We need freedom. We have been oppressed for too long. We need your truth in our lives. Please open our eyes so we can see truth. Don't let our enemies deceive us any longer. As truth is revealed, let the words in Philippians 4:6-7 comfort us. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Be there for us and comfort us. We don't know what the future holds, and it could be unsettling to us. Father, look upon us as you looked upon the Israelites during the time of Moses. The Israelites lived in the land of Goshen, and before the fourth judgment in Exodus 8:22 it states, "But on that day I will deal differently with the land of Goshen, where my people live. No swarms of flies will be there, so that you will know that I, the Lord, am in this land. Distinguish our community as you distinguish Goshen from the land of Egypt. Protect and keep us from any danger. Let the destruction that goes on around us not harm us, although we know we will be affected by it. Bring your peace and let us find comfort in you. In your victorious name we pray. Amen." Thank you, and you guys have a nice night.
Thank you. The next speaker is John Palmer. Welcome.
Thank you, and good evening. I'd like to start out by saying you were all elected, and Mr. Freitag was hired to be responsible and fiscally responsible with our money. I know this is going to sound funny, but obviously there's a money tree somewhere here in the city. I don't know if it's in the basement or down at Bob Briggs' greenhouse, but the way we spend money is ridiculous. Some examples: $1 million for office furniture for this building. And this is the third or fourth phase. I'm not sure what was said, but that's a lot of money. A lot of our taxpayer dollars. Also on tonight's agenda, you want to spend $50,000 for outsourcing an attorney. Why is it our attorney and his staff can't handle this? Every time I turn around, we're outsourcing for another attorney. If our staff can't handle it, we need to hire an attorney that can handle it instead of consistently outsourcing. Also on our agenda this evening, economic development proposal at the Uplands. These are the same people that are asking the Department of Housing for $2,800,000 for their project. Why are we financing a project for them when it's a for rent project? This is nothing but a net profit for this developer, St. Charles. Also on tonight's agenda, there's an economic development for the people down on 71st you've heard talk. Again, in the past, people come to this city, they want to build, they pay for it. They're not sticking their hand out asking for money, and you'll see that from the other gentlemen that are presenting this evening for the property on 73rd. They're not asking for money from the city. They're not asking for economic development. Again, this is ridiculous. $2 million has been, that number's been touted for the rodeo market. Where's this money come from? Can you please show the citizens the money tree? Where's it at, or tell us where it's at so we can see it? Because you spend it like it's unlimited. This is our tax dollars that you're spending. $10 million for a park at downtown Westminster. Really? Just recently, you've decided that we need $100 million for the fire department. I don't have a problem with that, but let's use our finances for things like that instead of $10 million parks, $1 million worth of office furniture. It all adds up. Again, you were elected to be responsible with our money, and it's not happening consistently, not happening. Further, I'd like y'all to take a few minutes, either now or when you get home, and look at the Westminster window that you received this evening. It was last week's issue, April 18th. And if you'll go to, I believe, page 23, it's the last part of Bill Christopher's article, editorial. Very interesting comment he put there about the growth of our city being 150%. Really? We're going to grow this city by 150%? Or is Bill Christopher misspoken in what he's saying in this article? I would like an answer to that personally. Again, it's on page 23. It's the final couple paragraphs of Bill Christopher's comments. So if someone could let me know about that, I would truly appreciate it. And again, we need to be a little more fiscally responsible with the money, unless there's an unlimited source at this money tree that I would like to see, and I'm sure the rest of the citizens in this city would like to see. Thank you.
Thank you. That was our last speaker. Do you want one now? Let's take a 5-minute break. Okay, we'll call this meeting back to order, and I understand somebody came in late and would like to speak. I haven't been calling for that because of our new protocols. When we hit a certain number, people only get 3 minutes to speak, and so that's the reason we need to know, and I know the person out there was there until about 7:15, so I just have to share that that's why we do what we do, and it is 9 o'clock and we have not even started our meeting yet tonight. So the person that wasn't able to speak, or if there's others, always can email us while you're sitting out there, and we'll see it when we get to our phones. But that's the reason why I have not been calling for people to speak after those that have signed up have. So, City Manager's report.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, councilors, ladies and gentlemen that are in attendance, and anybody who might be watching online. A couple updates from the city's perspective. So first of all, in conjunction with March Madness, we ran internally here for the community's entertainment, Park Madness. And that's an opportunity for us to celebrate our parks and open spaces. So after a month of public voting on a bracket of 16 of our most popular parks and open spaces, we now have a champion. And that champion is Stanley Lake Regional Park, won this first ever Parks Madness bracket, beating out McKay Lake Open Space in the final round by a score of 185 to 23. We had a total of 2,300 total votes that were submitted for Park Madness. We just want to say thank you to everybody in the community who participated in that. It was surely done as a fun parallel effort to March Madness. And so voting in each round was worth an entry into a raffle, and so we have identified the winners for those raffle prizes. And if you go to our city website, on the link there, you can certainly access who those winners are, and they'll certainly be contacted by our Parks, Rec, and Libraries Department. But we also want to say kudos to our Parks, Rec, and Library Department. Great idea, great effort, and excited about continuing this as a community fun activity next March Madness. Next slide. Westy wins. So we've certainly won here, and that is we've brought on a brand new chief building official, and I'd like to introduce her this evening. So this is Samantha, goes by Sam Everett. She joined the Community Services Department as our new chief building official, and she'll be the leader of our building division. And today is her very first day. I certainly hope that you come back to work tomorrow. She's joining us after serving for 5 years as the chief building official with Loveland, Colorado, the city there. And prior to that, she was the CBO in Swatara Township, Pennsylvania. She started her career back in 2001 with the city of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. At that time, she was a building code officer and an inspector. She's got a host of certifications. I won't go through all of those, but what we really appreciated bringing her on board as part of the interview process and application process was this idea of being solutions-oriented and a collaborative approach. And so we look forward to having you join the team and just want to give you a very, very warm Westminster welcome. So please join me in giving her a round of applause. Welcome. Next slide, please. Some things to know. Arts Week, we've mentioned that already, but it continues throughout this week and ends up finally on Saturday, April 27th. Please check out our website for more details. Planning Commission tomorrow evening is canceled. EAB, Environmental Advisory Board meeting, goes Wednesday from 6:30 to 8 p.m. It is a hybrid meeting and takes place in the CMO conference room, also via Teams for those that might be interested. Historic Landmark Board meeting goes Wednesday also. That's 7 to 8:30 p.m. right here at City Hall, downstairs, first level in PRL's Conference Room B. Special Permit and License Board meeting also goes on Wednesday from 7 to 8:30 p.m. right here in Council Chambers. And next Monday night is a council study session. Starts at 6:30, and it's here in Council Chambers. Next slide. Information-only items this evening, we had one, and just as a request from the council to get a quarterly update on those previous ARPA funds that we freed up from all the restrictions through some of our opportunities, we were able to do that. But that's just an update on where that money stands. And so if there are any questions, we're happy to do that. And then, as always, want to remain accessible, responsive, transparent, and accountable. You can contact us at City Hall, but if you want to contact my office directly, you can do that. The number's listed there. You can email me directly at mfreitag@westminsterco.gov. And as always, encourage you to check us out on Instagram, follow us on X, like us on Facebook, and ring our bell at Nextdoor. Pending any questions, that's all I have this evening.
Any questions? I see none. Thank you. Council comments? Councilor Carmelia, I see you reaching.
As always, we had a very full night tonight, so big thank you to everyone who came out. Your input really is valuable, so thank you. I did have a question to our staff. If we can find out whose jurisdiction would it be? Is it Jeffco that we would ask about the runway at RMMA doing an EIS, an environmental impact statement, or who is it that we could try to inquire about where that comes from and if they're doing it?
Yes, and so the runway at RMMA, that's part of Jeffco's property. They're the owner of the airport. And May 20th, we've scheduled the RMMA study session that the council has requested. In addition to both county public health departments presenting that evening, Jeffco will be here specifically to talk about, we've asked them for two specific items. One is the removal of that runway and what is the process and any concerns that might come out of that. And then the second issue is the proposed expansion of the airport within the confines of its current footprint, but growth, business, things like that. Please come talk to us. And so I've talked to the county manager. He said happy to be here for that. And so they're coming, but I think they could speak to the idea of an EIS, if you will.
Right. Thank you so much. I look forward to that. I think we all do. Bring all our questions there. And then just to go back to the dog park, I'd love to know, is there a fence being built? And if there is, I'm sure there's a why. Would you be able to send that our way?
I'm not aware of a fence being built. I don't know. Yeah, I'm getting the head shake no from Parks Rec and Library Director, but we can certainly follow up and confirm.
Just find out so we can answer folks on that. And then I'd love to know, following up on the E. coli conversation, I'd like to know, is the city liable for dogs or humans getting E. coli from the dog park?
Counselor, I'm going to have to follow up with you on that. That's well outside my wheelhouse, but we'll get some details and follow up.
I appreciate that. It's just good to know if this is something we need to address and how. Okay, and then last question is following up on public speaker comments around the Greenway. This is the first that I heard that there is construction happening, and so if there is construction happening across the Rocky Flats area, whose jurisdiction is that happening in?
Yes, and so anything east of Indiana Avenue is part of Westminster Hills open space where the Greenway Trail goes, but our jurisdiction ends at Indiana Avenue. That's where the proposed pedestrian bridge is to go across from a public safety perspective. I frankly don't know who owns the other side. Maybe someone that has been here longer than I have might know that, but we can certainly follow up and find out who owns on the west side of that. I do know that U.S. Fish and Wildlife is the proponent builder for the Greenway Trail.
Okay, just so that we can better, because I know that we had said, I think a month ago now, that no construction would happen until August.
That's city construction of the pedestrian bridge, but what's happening outside of our property, I don't have any control over.
Right, that was what I figured, so thank you so much for confirming. That's everything I had. I hope that I addressed some of the questions that we received here tonight, and if we need to get to them more fully, please email us. We will get you more complete answers. But thank you so much for being so thorough and quick on your feet.
Councilor Iron?
I would like to thank all the citizens that came out tonight to speak. I learned a lot from you, things I didn't know before about the dog park and airport and the Greenway path. And I was also concerned about HB 24-160. The police officer told us that we should oppose, and I do oppose that, and I hope that my colleagues will also oppose that. It puts our police officers in a really bad situation, and they're here to protect us, so I hope they will join me in opposing that.
Councillor Demott.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight. I have a couple things I want to address, and I'll try to be brief. I want to read you a proclamation from May 4th, 2016. It's the National Day of Prayer from 2016, a proclamation in times of steady, calm, extraordinary change alike. Americans of all walks of life have long turned to prayer to seek refuge, demonstrate gratitude, and discover peace. Sustaining us through a great uncertainty and moments of sorrow, prayers allow us an outlet for introspection, and for expressing our hopes, desires, fears. It offers strength in the face of hardship and redemption when we falter. Our country was founded on the idea of religious freedom, and we have long upheld the belief that how we pray, whether we pray, are matters reserved for individuals' own conscience. On National Day of Prayer, we rededicate ourselves to extending this freedom to all people. Every day, women and men use wisdom gained from humble prayer to speak kindness and make our world a better place. Faith communities at home and abroad have helped feed the hungry, heal the sick, protect the innocent from violence, nurturing communities with love and understanding. Their prayer inspires their work, which embodies a timeless notion that has kept humanity going through the ages, that one of our most sacred responsibilities is to give ourselves in service to others. The threats of poverty, violence, and war around the world are all too real. Our faith and our earnest prayers can be cures for the fear we feel as we confront these realities, helping us resist despair, paralysis, cynicism. Prayer offers a powerful alternative to pessimism. Through our prayer, we often gain the insight to learn from our mistakes, the motivation to always be better, and courage to stand up for what is right, even when it is not popular. Each of us is an author in our own collective American story, and in participating in our national discourse to address some of our nation's greatest challenges, we are reminded the blessing we have to live in the land where we are able to freely express the beliefs we hold in our hearts. The United States will continue to stand up for those around the world who are subject to fear or violence because of their religion or beliefs. As a nation free to practice our faith as we choose, we must remember those around the world who are not afforded this freedom. We must recommit to building a society where all can enjoy this liberty and live their lives in peace and dignity. On this day, may our faith enable us to sow the seeds of progress in our ever-changing world. Let us resolve to guide our children, grandchildren to embrace freedom for all, to see God in everyone, and remember that no matter what difference they have, they, just like we, will always be united by our common humanity. Congress, by Public Law 100-307 as amended, has called on President to issue each year a proclamation designated the first Thursday in May as National Day of Prayer. Now, therefore, I, Barack Obama, President of the United States of America, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Constitution and the laws of the United States, do hereby proclaim May 5th, 2016 as National Day of Prayer. I invite the citizens of our nation to give thanks in accordance with their own faith and conscience for many freedoms and blessings, and I join all people of faith in asking for God's continued guidance, mercy, and protection as we seek a more just world. In witness whereof I hereunto set my hand 4th day of May, in the year our Lord 2016, and the independence of the United States of America 214th. I think it's interesting This is something that we have done before in the past, and throughout my tenure, sometimes council decides not the majority to take part in that proclamation. I, however, am taking personal privilege in my ability and my liberties to be able to read that to you. And I wanted to choose one from some time ago that, you know, is from 2 presidents ago. And it shows you, in my mind, the challenges that we faced in 2016 are not that much different today. And I bet you could go back and see that throughout the time since 1952, once the country started doing this. I would also invite you to the Crossings Church on May the 2nd. They start at 6:30 a.m. We will pray for a variety of different things, from government to military to I will be doing a prayer on family that I've been invited to do. And I've been honored to participate in this practice since being on council when first elected in 2017. I think that it is very, very important that we allow people of all different faiths to be able to exercise that freedom, and so I take that very seriously. A couple other things I wanted to address tonight. I read a story today that this is a post that I saw, and it's about an officer in Chicago. Early this morning, Officer Luis Huska, I hope I didn't butcher his name, was driving home in full uniform after his shift in his personal vehicle. At some point while driving, the officer was shot repeatedly by unknown suspects. Other officers responded to the area after being alerted by gunshot detectors. In the area, officers discovered the officer lying in the roadway. He was pronounced dead short while later. After the shooting, the suspects took his badge off of his uniform, stole his gun, and stole his vehicle, and the suspects are still at large. This officer was a young officer who had served for 6 years. I would join Councilor Ireland in saying that we need to oppose what the officers asked us to oppose. I look at what's going on at our State House right now. I absolutely 100% demand that people who wear the uniform take that seriously, and they don't abuse that, and they uphold the law and don't violate it. However, I think that the majority of the officers do that. And we have great people who step up and they put their life on the line day in, day out. My dad is a retired Denver police officer. That's a hard life. It's hard on their families, it's hard on them, and we should be sticking up for law. Absolutely hold them accountable, but I look at what's going on at our State House right now. There are 2 bills I would point out to you. One is liability insurance they're going to require for lawful gun owners to carry. The other one is an 11% excise tax on guns and ammunition. Who are they putting those taxes on? They're putting them on us law-abiding citizens. They're attacking law-abiding citizens, our police officers. When are we going to stand up for the law-abiding citizens of the state of Colorado and the police officers who uphold that law? So I would ask that, A, you reach out to your legislators and look at the things that they're shoving through at the last minute down at the State House, because they're taking our rights left and right. It's very upsetting to me. But 2, that you would support what I am asking, that this council take a stance on that HB 1460 as we've been asked by our officers.
I talked with our attorney during our break, and because we don't have this, we don't have any legislation on our agendized, so what we can do is ask that, and I'm looking if Chris Lindsay's in the room, I saw him outside, but we need our legislative crew to send us an email and get yays or nays, and if we need to make that official at even the next study session with the special meeting to do that, let's get it done. I too oppose it, but we need to ask the council, and that's the way we do it, is when we don't have something agendized and things are, there may be other things popping up these less than 20 days that nobody's being able to get conversation about, and I would just request that they email us, get our temperatures, and see if we have approval and go for it.
Will do, Mayor.
Thanks. See no one else, that brings us to.
Mayor, I don't know if my light didn't show up. Am I supposed to turn it off?
The lights don't show with me anymore.
Oh,
so, I mean, your names don't show up. I don't know why. It did for one meeting.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I wanted to thank everybody who came and spoke tonight. I remember what it was like being a resident coming and speaking to City Council and how nerve-wracking it can be to come speak to us. So I appreciate that you coming and speaking to us. And I'd like to again, I know Councilor Ireland mentioned how much we learned from you. In 5 months, 3 of us, we were just sworn in 5 months ago, and in that 5 months, I have learned so much from the community, and so I just want to say thank you. I've learned a lot about the dog park. I've learned a lot about Rocky Mountain Greenway, a lot about RMMA, and so I just want to say that I appreciate all the information that I've learned from our residents. I do share some of the same frustration. I am one of 3 counselors, but you need 4, who have voted twice to leave the CNR. I agree that it's ineffective, and I would like to. I'd like to start over and hopefully try something new that could be effective. While we've had the CNR, the RMMA has continued to grow, and I don't understand how that's supposed to be helping the sound issues if we are growing the airport. And the CNR doesn't, it has to do with the noise. But I can assure you that noise is a health issue. My mom had to move in the middle of nowhere where there's 40 acres because she has migraines. And just being in the suburbs, hearing airplanes, hearing cars, motorcycles, any of those noise, people working on their yards really affects her health. And so for the people that say it's not a big deal, it might not be a big deal to you, but there are others that it absolutely is a big deal. And we need to figure out this lead situation because this is a public safety issue, and it's something that we really need to take seriously. I'm also very frustrated that the Rocky Mountain Greenway is even a thing. I don't know who was on council when that was approved or why it was approved. I share the frustration that we're now dealing with that right now, because we shouldn't be, in my opinion. And then with the dog park, I am really looking forward to hearing what comes back from the Who's Cat. And I also want to say thank you to the person who came and spoke for Andrew. I noticed that Andrew wasn't in the audience tonight, and so thank you for providing that update. And so I just, I appreciate everything. And then when you talk about mental health, that's actually what I went to school with. That's what I got my degree. My degree is in psychology at Regis. And so my goal is when I either term out or burn out from here, getting my master's degree so I can actually practice. So mental health is something that's very important to me. So thank you for speaking on that. And then I would also like to mention, it was mentioned that in the Westminster window, that we could have up to 150% of growth. That's ridiculous. I don't know where we have the space for, no. We don't have the space for that. A third of Westminster is open space that is protected. If anything, we will be growing our open space. We will not be shrinking our open space. We have like 2% of land left that we can develop. That doesn't even make sense. And then I would suggest, well, I could ask that everybody actually read HB 241460. So this bill is about officer misconduct. Unfortunately, sometimes it happens. I agree that most of our officers are good officers. Most of our officers are not engaging in misconduct. However, the two things in this bill is that if somebody comes forth saying that misconduct has been done, it needs to be investigated. Why is it not already being investigated is my question. Another question I have is when these investigations occur, who is doing the investigation? Do you know, Manager Freitag?
When there's officer misconduct, there are multiple levels. We have a internal affairs that can do that. We also, depending upon the event, we can bring in an outside agency to do an investigation. And then we also have a citizen review board that looks at officer misconduct. So there's really 3 different levels or options that can be pursued.
Okay, thank you for that. And then the next thing is that if misconduct has been found, that the officer then is responsible for that misconduct. To me, this would just encourage community trust, in my opinion. And also, if an officer sees misconduct from another officer, they would have to bring that forward. That means that now officers are not keeping quiet because they're afraid of any retribution or any pushback that they might get from bringing that forward. Now, I understand that this is Westminster, but this means what this bill does, in the case of George Floyd, those officers would have been, by law, they would have had to interrupt the officer that was on top of George Floyd and say, hey, this is misconduct, you need to stop. Because if they see misconduct, they need to stop it. The next thing is if they don't stop the misconduct, well, they are just as responsible. Again, I have family members who are police officers. I agree that most police officers are law-abiding, citizens, just like the majority of us. However, just like we have to bear the responsibility when we break the law, they should have to bear the responsibility when they break the law. So please read this bill. It's about accountability when there's misconduct. It's not about attacking our officers. It's not about making their job less safe. It's about responsibility when there is misconduct that does occur. We're not trying to punish our officers. Again, most of them are not law abiding and not. But again, I would encourage you to read the bill, because to me, this just provides even accountability for our officers, but we all need to be accountable for our choices, right? And to me, it helps with community trust. When we know that our officers are accountable, it is a lot easier for the community to trust our officers, and that's something that we really need to be working on, is trust between our community and our officers, and I think this is one way to do that. So I will not be voting to oppose this bill. If anything, I would be voting to support this bill. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Councillor Dumont.
I appreciate everything that Councillor Hott said. I agree that there needs to be accountability, and if somebody sees misconduct, that they should absolutely report it. I would invite you to also look at House Bill 2217 that was passed after everything that happened in 2020, or maybe it's 21217, but that totally put all those things in place. There was just a hearing with somebody in another city that was dealing with that exact thing. The officers already they have to abide by the law. There are already things put in place by Colorado. I guess the question is, how many different things are we going to make that say you have to report, you have to, jump through these different hoops? And if you listen to the president of our union that came here and spoke, it wasn't about the portion of holding people accountable. It was about the language used in it and how the vagueness in it and how it's hard for them to determine what exactly it means. So I think that, with these bills, the challenge, and you heard this from the president of the union, one of the challenges is having everybody at the table so we make sure that you craft something that everybody understands that's going to be held under it. So I certainly agree with everything you said as far as accountability. I wouldn't disagree with any of that. I just think that those folks deserve to have that done in a way that they can understand that's fair and balanced to them. And, we've already put a lot of things in place in the state of Colorado on top of the things that already existed. Like you heard our city manager say, here in our city, if there's misconduct, there's multiple different layers that an officer is going to have to go through to prove whether or not there was misconduct. So full for accountability, but again, we need to make sure that we're being fair, balanced, and measured with laws that we pass that we're going to hold people accountable to is really my beef with it.
On with the meeting. Our consent agenda policy is if somebody wants to ask for something to come off, they do. So items 8A, 8C1, and 8C2 have already been taken off of the agenda. So do I have a motion to approve items 8B through items 8D and E? Councilor DeMott?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve consent agenda item 8B and items 8D through E.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve consent agenda item 8B and items 8D through 8E. I see no lights, so roll call, please.
Councilor Carmelia?
Yes.
Councilor DeMott?
Yes.
Councilor Azadi?
Yes.
Councilor Hott?
Yes.
Mayor McNally?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Nurmela?
Yes.
And Councilor Ireland?
Yes.
The motion passes on a 7-0 vote.
And that brings us to item 8A, Councilor's Bill 9. Do we have a motion to postpone it indefinitely? Councilor DeMott?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to postpone Councilor Bill number 9 regarding occupancy standards indefinitely.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to postpone indefinitely item 8A. Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilor DeMott, sorry.
Yes.
Councilor Azadi?
Yes.
Councilor Hott?
Yes.
Mayor McNally?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Nurmela?
Yes.
Councilor Ireland?
Yes.
And Councilor Carmelia?
Yes.
The motion passes on a 7-0 vote.
That brings us to item 8C1. Hello? Anybody awake? Councilor Carmelia?
Yes. Seeing as this is phase 4, as I believe it, of a plan set in motion in 2018, I will move to authorize city manager to execute a contract amendment with Bottom Line Design in the amount of $300,000 for a total authorized amount not to exceed $550,000 for furniture, design, purchase, and installation.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve item 8C1. Is there any further discussion? Councilor DeMott?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I just want to say that through my time, there are other competing things for dollars that I've seen that would have been a better spend of $550,000, so I will be voting no.
Councilor Ireland?
I see it the same way, so I will be voting no also.
Councilor Hott?
Yes, so this is a part of several phases, and when I was doing my homework for this week, I don't remember what year it was that a lot of these desks and chairs has been replaced, but it was a long time ago, and I think that our employees deserve to have good desks and chairs, so I'll be voting yes.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Having sat in the 34-year-old seats for a long time, yeah, I think it's reasonable to refresh office furniture over time. And since this is a process in progress, when I first read this, I thought, oh, do we need more? Because I know we had replaced some, but I didn't realize we were still replacing some. So I think that's reasonable that we finish that out. So that's why I'll vote for yes.
Councilor Azadi?
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to say that this is really important for dignity of our employees. I think when we talk about retention and how do we keep more employees and recruit more employees, we, as you would appreciate, you would want to sit in furniture that is up to standards to your comfort, right? But more importantly, I was just at the, this morning I had the interview with our chamber, and the question was asked to me, Obi, you want all these things, where's the money gonna come from? And I told them, there's money. We just need to figure out how to prioritize it. But we have money. The city has money. There's a myth out there that there's nothing left, so we have to only focus on X, Y, Z. That's not true. And this is one example, but this is a very good example of something that we should support.
Councillor Demott?
Oh, I think I went once.
Okay. Councillor Carmelia?
I'll just double down on what my fellow councilors just said. I believe firmly that our staff does so much work for us and for the city, and that the very least we can do is ensure that they have comfortable workplace furniture, and anything else that we can do to make their work lives easier is beholden to us to do for them.
Councillor Demott?
Thank you. I just want to give I guess, a little more context since we're going to dig into this a bit. There have been other portions of this that I had a problem with over the time. I've been here through a lot of these different phases. I would say that I did ask for pictures of the current furniture and the new furniture because I wanted to put eyes on it. We were offered to be able to actually go look at it. The pictures to me were sufficient. I asked for a gamut of, give me a handful of pictures so I can see what they look like. I've worked in a lot of office places. Sometimes I've got new stuff, sometimes I've got really old stuff. I will tell you the other thing that we hear consistently from our management is that we have a great retention rate. So it doesn't seem like people are fleeing the city of Westminster because of their office furniture. And I agree 100% with Councillor Azadi. We do have to prioritize. Last budget cycle, when I wanted to cut a 4.5% increase to the water rates to the citizens, it was near $1 million. I think it was like $950,000, and we were told the only place we could take it was from roads. Looks like I found more than half of it just now about to be spent on furniture. So I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying that when we have competing priorities, that we do need to take that seriously. And some of the things that I have fought hard for over the last 12 months that I thought would impact the residents, I was told, no, we don't have the money. So I just can't, in good conscience, spend money on furniture just so we get new furniture. I'm sure that it would be nicer, but it looks like the furniture we have today is sufficing.
Councillor Ireland?
I agree with what Councillor Demott said. We just got done with our strategic plan meeting, and I emphasize priorities. Our roads are bad. We have high water rates. We're spending $44 million for a courthouse. We're asked for $100 million for the fire department, and a sales tax increase on the ballot. I think the citizens have had enough taxes, enough spending. We need to cut spending like our citizens have to do on their own budgets. So I will be voting no.
Roll call, please.
Councillor Azadi?
Yes.
Councillor Hott?
Yes.
Mayor McNally?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Nurmela?
Yes.
Councillor Ireland?
No.
Councillor Carmelia?
Yes.
And Councillor Demott?
No.
That brings us to item 8C2. Councillor Carmelia?
I move to authorize city manager to execute a contract amendment with Merchant Office Furniture in the amount of $300,000 for a total authorized amount not to exceed $550,000 for on-call for office furniture design purchase and installation services.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve item 8C2. Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councillor Hott?
Yes.
Mayor McNally?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Nurmela?
Yes.
Councillor Ireland?
No.
Councillor Carmelia?
Yes.
Councillor Demott?
No.
And Councillor Azadi?
Yes.
The motion passes on a 5-2 vote.
That brings us to public hearing and consideration of Councilor's Bill number 11, rezoning the subject property and consideration of the preliminary development plan and official development plan for the Wilson's subdivision, Block 2, Lots 1 and 2. I will open the public hearing. It is, my computer doesn't have a time right now, so it's 9:38, and welcome.
All right, good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, City Councilors. John McConnell, Interim Planning Manager, here to present tonight's public hearing. Next slide, please. Staff agenda memo has been created, and tonight's public hearing has been properly noticed. The agenda memo, tonight's presentation, newspaper notice, certification of mailed notice, and posted notices are hereby entered the public record. Next slide, please. Wilson Subdivision, Block 2, Lots 1 and 2, is located at the northwest corner of the intersection of Wilson Court and West 73rd Avenue. The address is 3699 West 73rd Avenue. The site is 1 block west of Lowell Boulevard, near Hidden Lake High School. Next slide, please. Approval of the rezoning preliminary development plan and official development plan would allow for the adaptive reuse of the existing office building to create 8 multifamily units and 500 square feet of commercial space on the 0.17 acre property. The project features vehicular parking and access from Wilson Court and direct pedestrian access from West 73rd Avenue. A new landscaped area is proposed at the street corner along with a knee-height wall along the sidewalk along 73rd Avenue. Next slide, please. Staff finds the rezoning and PDP are in conformance with all city codes, ordinances, and policies with the requested exceptions noted in the agenda memo. 2 exceptions are being requested from the TMUN design standards, reflecting the limits of reusing an existing building. To fit the minimum number of required parking space, the applicant is requesting to allow compact parking spaces. The second exception is to waive the requirement for covered or garage parking. Covered parking is not typical in this context. It's a little more urban, and a covered parking is typically a suburban context. And garage parking is not an option really given to the site constraints with the existing building and site. In addition, the applicant's requesting to reduce the public land dedication by 80% of what will be required by city code. Staff is in support of this request as a means of encouraging redevelopment and adaptive reuse of existing structures in the Harris Park neighborhood. All of this is noted in more detail in the agenda memo and the associated documents. Next slide, please. Staff finds the ODP is in conformance with all city codes, ordinances, and policies. A traffic study and utility study were reviewed by staff and no issues have been identified, and existing infrastructure can support the proposed project. Next slide, please. Staff recommends that City Council hold a public hearing and pass the proposed rezoning, approve the preliminary development plan and official development plan. Next slide, please. Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of the rezoning, PDP and ODP on March 12th of this year, and that was by a vote of 5-0. Next slide, please. The city's strategic plan priority of shared sense of community is met through the proposed development's provision of 8 new units of housing and 500 square feet of commercial space that will be fully integrated into the surrounding community. The applicant's here with us tonight and has a presentation to provide to you. Staff is here as well if you have any questions of staff.
Any questions at this point? I see none. Welcome.
Hi, how are you guys? Oh, I saw this earlier. It goes up. It's pretty cool. My name is Dennis McLean. I'm a traditionally urban infill developer. We've been involved in projects in Sunnyside, Tennyson, Lowhigh, just places that are organic neighborhoods where people come home and they don't want to get back in their car. They want to hang out in their neighborhood. I think you guys have a very special opportunity here in Harris Park and this Wilson Street to create something that is a little more urban than a lot of Westminster is, I think. And we'd like to be part of that. So I think you did a great job explaining what we're trying to do. We're creating 8 units and a commercial space in a office building that was kind of interesting to us. It just needed just a little bit more flair than it probably has today. So we brought in our architect with us if you guys have any questions for him or any questions for me. Thank you.
Any questions? Councillor Ireland?
Are these for rent or are they, you gonna, for sale,
They are for rent.
for rent?
Councillor Camellia?
Is this the only development that we have in our city like this, or do you have other areas in our city that are similar?
In your city, we don't, no. In Denver, we did Inca, so if you're familiar with the 41st and Fox Station, we owned from 38th all the way to 42nd, and we've developed that area over there.
Okay, and then the commercial space, what are the plans around that?
We're looking for a small business to run something for the community. We had a meeting with, there were probably 15 to 20 people there, and we've heard that the neighborhood wanted a place to congregate. A lot of people wanted a place to eat, maybe have cocktails, so that's kind of the direction we're going. We've designed a hood and grease trap to go in the space for this go around or next, so it's a lot easier to do it now than later.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you. And City Clerk, do we have anybody signed up?
We have one person signed up, Owen Beard.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Go ahead, sure.
For the architect, real quick. The build, it looks like it's built, I don't know what the word is, but for the inside, right? They're not exterior facing apartments. It's like an inside build. I don't know what the word is for that, but.
The existing building was actually built in the 60s, and so the apartments will actually face out. We're going to actually be adding windows to the building. We're going to be trying to keep within the kind of the design style. It's actually kind of a 60s modern building. It's very, very trimmed down, and so in places we're actually going to be adding some balconies to the outside so that people can have some sort of indoor-outdoor space. And so what we're trying to do is kind of keep within almost like a California contemporary style that this building already leans towards anyways, but since we're turning it into a residential structure, we're going to make it more of a residential version of that time period of architecture.
That is really helpful. Thank you. That additional information makes me much more warm to this. So thank you. Yeah, I tend to think, I think that right now we have a style of outdoor, buildings and apartments and condos, et cetera. And I think that leads to a better feel for the community instead of the inside, which I'm not real fond of. It can the inside can deteriorate real fast. It can smell. It can be hard to keep up, et cetera. I have a lot of, but anyway, that's really great information. So
yeah, I think the residents of this building are actually going to be very well integrated in the community. I think Dennis talked a little bit about the idea that this neighborhood in particular has a lot of walkable amenity, and I think that people we're going to be coming there and staying there and doing things in the local area. And I think having the balconies, I think more than half of the units get this outdoor space, and I think people are going to utilize that.
And it'll help the community aesthetic. Thank you.
Any other questions? I don't for you, but I do for, tell me about, I read, and it's tough to read on our computers because trying to read the fine print of the actual prints that you give us. Undergrounding is huge in that area of town. Some have it, some don't. We have bits and we have pieces. What's happening with this? Because I saw that you have one pole that's going to be going clear up, and so why aren't we undergrounding?
So I'm not aware of any undergrounding necessary adjacent to this lot. There are some overhead utilities across the street next to the city's building, but along 73rd and along Wilson, I wasn't aware of any. I am aware of some overhead utilities that pick up and head north on the north side of this property. Maybe I might have missed something though, but I didn't see any.
Well, I just was looking for that because we have somebody in the crowd that I even thought should
have to, he could tell you everything that's sort of pieced together down there and that he has to deal with every day, whether it's water, whether it's wastewater, whether it's power, which he was dealing with yesterday. So I just want to make sure, because too many times we say it's too expensive, it's blah, 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 blah. I'm not doing that anymore. We have to get that area undergrounded and do it correctly. So if this has anything on it that needs undergrounded, it should be undergrounded. Anything else? It is 9:49. I will close the public hearing. And do we have a motion for Councilor's Bill 11? Councilor DeMott.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to pass Councilor Bill number 11 on first reading, amending the zoning of the subject property, a .17 acre parcel generally located at 3699 West 73rd Avenue. The parcel is currently zoned B-1 business. The owner is seeking to rezone the property to planned unit development. This recommendation is based on a finding that the rezoning is generally supported by the criteria set forth in section 11-5-14 of the Westminster Municipal Code.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Second.
Is there any further questions? I remembered one question I didn't ask. There's a new law that the governor's just putting in about how many people can be in any place to live. We're tight on parking. Where will they park if there's more spaces needed?
Well, this proposal does meet its off-street parking standard. It does include 3 spaces on the street. And to answer your question most directly, any sort of additional parking need that may come out of additional cars would have to be accommodated on the streets, on-street parking.
I just think with that new law, we need to rethink parking, because we've been taking it down to next to nothing. And especially in our neighborhoods, you can tell the houses that have 9 or 10 cars parking there that there's more people than were originally intended to be in there. But that's the law, so we need to just understand it and provide in case needed. Thanks.
I have one more thing to say, too. I understand that the state also is mandating EVs. 82% of us will be using them by 2034. I don't know where they're going to charge these. I don't know where they're going to park these, but we've been improving all this stuff with on-street parking, and it's going to be a difficult situation when we're all driving EVs. My daughter has a roommate that has an EV, and no one else can use the garage because she has to plug it in 24/7 or it goes dead. So I think we need to think about parking a little bit more.
Mayor Pro Tem.
I just wanted to express that I'm excited that we have a project that is taking advantage of the mixed use designation that we were trying to, that we have applied to this area, and I'm just happy to see that staff was able to help the applicant bring this forward. And so thanks for working on revitalizing a key part of our city.
Roll call, please. Oh, sorry. Councilor Azadi.
Just echoing those sentiments, thank you to the applicant for bringing this forward. Very important, very needed. Great job.
Roll call, please.
Mayor McNally.
Yes.
Councilor Normella.
Yes.
Councilor Ireland.
Yes.
Councilor Carmelia.
Yes.
Councilor DeMott.
Yes.
Councilor Azadi.
Yes.
And Councilor Hott.
Yes.
The motion passes on a 7-0 vote.
That brings us to item A3. Councilor DeMott.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve preliminary development plan and official development plan for Wilson's Subdivision Block 2, Lots 1 and 2 recommendation, or this recommendation is based on a finding that the preliminary development plan and official development plan are generally supported by the criteria set forth in sections 11-5-14 and 11-5-15 of the Westminster Municipal Code.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve item A3. Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Normella.
Yes.
Councilor Ireland. Counselor Carmelia?
Yes.
Counselor Demott?
Yes.
Counselor Azadi?
Yes.
Counselor Hott?
Yes.
And Mayor McNally?
Yes.
The motion passes on a 7-0 vote.
That brings us to Councilor's Bill number 12. Counselor Demott?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to pass Councilor Bill number 12 on first reading to approve the proposed amendments to Title 14, Chapter 2 regarding Employee 401A Defined Contribution Plan.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to pass Councilor's Bill number 12. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Ireland?
Yes.
Counselor Carmelia?
Yes.
Counselor Demott?
Yes.
Counselor Azadi?
Yes.
Counselor Hott?
Yes.
Mayor McNally?
Yes.
And Mayor Pro Tem Nurmela?
Yes.
The motion passes on a 7-0 vote.
That brings us to Councilor's Bill number 13. Counselor Demott?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to pass Councilor Bill number 13 on first reading, authorizing the city manager to execute an economic development agreement with 8775 Clay Street LLLP, which authorizes 100% rebates of permit fees, park development fees, and public art fees, as well as sales and use tax to the city, but specifically excluding from any rebate the 0.25% portion for open space tax and the 0.60% public safety tax on the construction materials, in the amount not to exceed $1,782,496 for development of a 247-unit affordable multifamily development located approximately at 8775 Clay Street, known as Overlook at Uplands.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to pass Councilor's Bill number 13. Is there any further discussion? Counselor Ireland?
I will be voting no on this. I don't think public money should be used this way.
Roll call, please.
Counselor Carmelia?
Yes.
Counselor Demott?
Yes.
Counselor Azad?
Yes.
Counselor Hott?
Yes.
Mayor McNally?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Nurmela?
Yes.
And Counselor Ireland?
No.
The motion passes on a 6-1 vote.
That brings us to Councilor's Bill number 14. Counselor Demott?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to pass Councilor Bill number 14 on first reading, authorizing the city manager to execute a development assistance agreement with 3551 West 71st LLC for development of a 75-unit market rate residential building in the Westminster Station area in substantially the same form as attached agreement.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to pass Councilor's Bill number 14. Is there any further discussion? Counselor Ireland?
I feel the same way on this one as I did the one before. Public money should not be used for this purpose. Thanks.
Roll call, please.
Counselor Demott?
Yes.
Counselor Azadi?
Yes.
Counselor Hott?
Yes.
Mayor McNally?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Nurmela?
Yes.
Counselor Ireland?
No.
And Counselor Carmelia?
Yes.
The motion passes on a 6-1 vote.
That brings us to item number 11A, Councilor's Bill number 10. Counselor Demott?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to pass Councilor Bill number 10 on second reading to amend Section 11-11-11 and Section 11-11-13 of the Westminster Municipal Code concerning incidental and miscellaneous signs.
Yoo-hoo. I need a second.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to pass Councilor's Bill number 10. Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Azadi?
Yes.
Counselor Hott?
Yes.
Mayor McNally?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Nurmela?
No.
Counselor Ireland?
Yes.
Counselor Carmelia?
Yes.
And Counselor Demott?
Yes.
The motion passes on a 6-1 vote.
It is 9:58 and this meeting is adjourned. We have a post-meeting in the other room.
Just use soup pan. It's even better. It's bigger. I'm just wishing for heat. Larry will have the fireplace on for me when I get home.
Yeah. This is what they do.
Break it up through the yes. 80s, perfect.
Yeah, my daughter got this outfit, shorts.
And the plugs agree.
I'm like, what are you doing wearing that today? She's like, it's gonna be 75 at 4 o'clock today. I'm gonna be fine.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
On page 4 of 6, the first thing under guiding principles, staff is requesting City Council to review and approve the proposed transparency and accountability description wording with the new sustainability and resiliency guiding principle and wording. So that is the third bullet, and they have 3 sentences. 3 sentences that they proposed.
Do we have that somewhere? Is that
I kinda opened mine up.
It's not anywhere. I'm trying to look for it online.
I downloaded mine just because I knew I'd do
Good
better
idea.
with pacing.
Yeah. Okay. So what,
Page 4 of 6, and the third bullet down. It's towards the bottom of the page. The third bullet, transparency and accountability.
I
And then they've
remember,
got 3 sentences.
I liked, the second one.
Read them all.
Oh, yeah. Transparency and accountability. Staff is requesting, okay, follow. Engage in meaningful, the first one, engage in meaningful dialogue with the people of Westminster, actively listening, clearly communicating the decision-making process, taking responsibility for all that we do, thereby building trust and confidence with the community.
That's number 1.
Number 2, engage meaningfully, transparently, and responsibly with the community to provide for all people to be heard and included in decision-making. Number 3, listen, engage, and incorporate the voice of the community in our planning. I felt like this was, the first one didn't speak to me as much about involving, kind of getting the feedback from the community members themselves. It was more like, again, just, yes, being active listeners, but communicating things too. Whereas I feel like the second one was more consistent with the spirit of what we were trying to go for, where we're engaging, having people be heard and included in decision-making. So that's why I like number 2.
Same, I like number 2, but if we can include the word trust in there somewhere. So the part of number 1 that I like the most is building trust. So it's the outcome, because the outcome of this, the whole point of this is to build trust, right? So if number 2 just had the outcome at the end, thereby building trust with the community, I think it would be perfect in my opinion.
I'm okay with both of those. Yeah. So I'm just gonna read it back just to make sure I'm on the same page. Encourage meaningfully, transparently, and responsibly with the community to provide for all people to be heard and included in decision-making, thereby building trust and confidence with the community. So it's taking the last line of 1 and adding it to 2.
And correcting your first word to engage.
Wait, is it engage? Yes,
Yeah.
sorry.
Huh?
It's not as long as the first one. That's fair. The last one is definitely the shortest.
Okay. It's like Mama Bear,
I
Papa.
need to hear from at least 2 more people.
I'm fine with it now. Put some action behind it, people.
I'm fine with it too.
Okay. We're good with 2. Let me find the next one. Page 5 of 6, sustainability and resiliency. Staff is requesting council to agree on the new guiding principle title and select which description best describes their guiding principle. And there's 4 under this one. First one is encourage the adoption of sustainable policies and practices to foster resiliency and long-term stewardship of the city's natural resources and environment. Number 2, make prudent and responsible decisions that promote long-term viability of our natural resources so that our community is resilient and the city's environment is sustained into the future. 3, protect, preserve, and sustain our natural resources and environment for the continued good of all. 4, act and operate in an environmentally responsible manner and lead by modeling best practices and incorporating sustainability in every aspect of our work.
I liked number 2 again.
I like first and last.
I like 3.
Not as easy, folks. I mean, I thought those were all really good. I'll just say the last one spoke to me, I think because it had action behind it, to Councilor DeMott's point, which I really like anytime that's called out a little bit more. It calls us to act in such a way with all of our decisions throughout the city.
I like that one for that reason. I think that oftentimes that we want people to conserve water or grass, and I think that's consistent with some of the things that we've tried to do as a city to try to the natural grasses and stuff. But it puts that onus on us to always be the ones doing what we're asking other people to do. So
I like that it says best practices. Well, one of the things.
Mhm.
You like the number 4?
I liked 8 myself.
anybody else like number 4? We just need one more.
I like it too.
Go for it.
Okay, so the last one.
Okay, no changes?
No changes.
Awesome.
The next one's strategic priorities. City Council, staff is requesting council to review and agree upon the proposed strategic priority descriptions. So number 1 is access to opportunities. Advance access to opportunity and prosperity for all Westminster through diverse housing choices, increased mobility options, safe and walkable neighborhoods, and strong social networks. We good with that one?
Yeah. Is that the only choice? Is that the only choice?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, well, that sounds great.
Unless you want to rewrite it. Number 2, resilient infrastructure. Maintain and invest in resilient infrastructure that creates the highest return for safety, community connectivity, enjoyment of life, and local economic success. We good?
Yes.
3, community and empowerment engagement. Community empowerment and engagement. Enhance the sense of community and connection in Westminster through engaging methods of communication and dialogue that improve accessibility, increased understanding, and encourage participation in city life.
The one thing I would like here is the word civic engagement somewhere. So participation in city life is not the same as participating civically. A part of that conversation in community empowerment was encouraging more people to get involved from a civic standpoint.
So how would you add that to the end? Because I don't have a problem with that, but could you do?
Maybe we just.
How about all aspects of city life?
So you wanted to say what civic?
So maybe changing the last few words to encourage civic participation in the city or something.
I think participation in. Say it again. Civic what? What was the second word you used?
Civic participation.
So encourage civic participation in city life, or encourage participation in city life.
It's taking out the words in city life.
I'm just trying to figure out how you fit both of them, because I think they both have good weight.
Yeah.
Because I think that the participation in city life is something that we want people to be able to enjoy, whether or not they want to participate in
We want them to feel
civic.
part of the community.
But we do want them to do that too, so anybody who's smarter than Dave have a good way to put those two things together?
Participation civically and in city life?
I see the policy persons, the wheels are turning down there.
Why don't we just say participation in civic and city life?
You could do that too.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, that works.
I'm trying to overthink it. It's been a long.
Because city life could be like
leading cultural events.
So the last, after the comma, is, and encourage
I guess I could
participation
fit
in
it
civic
but if, like,
and
I'm
city
open to
life.
adding it.
Okay.
Well-
So just civic and.
Good.
Okay.
Done.
Next one,
Solving problems.
economic vitality. Promote and support a resilient economy that attracts and retains a diversity of businesses, workers, industries, and expands living wage jobs, and diversifies the city's tax base.
I like that. I like that it expands living wage jobs, so it gives room to there are jobs that aren't living wage jobs, and we need those jobs, so I think that's good.
Everybody good? Yep. Okay. Community and health and safety. Invest in innovative and collaborative approaches to provide a continuum of services that preserve, promote, and protect the health, safety, and environment of Westminster.
Nailed it.
Yep. Organizational vitality. Develop and sustain an environment where employees and the organization are equipped and supported to deliver outstanding service to everyone in Westminster.
Now, I would like to know what staff thinks about that, because this one's all about you guys, so. I mean, I imagine you had some peace in it, so. Does that feel good to you down there at the end of the table?
It does. It sets parameters and allows those who don't have necessarily outward-facing roles and responsibilities with the community to recognize that their jobs are important and critical for us to be successful. So it incorporates the entire organization. So yes, we do.
Well said, and I'm good.
Everybody good? Okay, so based on all of that, staff will tentatively return on May 6th for the adoption of the strategic plan mission statement, vision statement, guiding principles, and strategic priorities, as well as review and confirm policy objectives.
Thank you.
Good?
Thank you.
Well written.
It's 10:17 and we're done.
Yay!
Got everybody excited, 10:30.
I almost made a. Does anybody want to cook